There's that. Is sewing making?
Yes. Oh my god.
I mean, for Billy, it is not just making; it is an origin.
Yes, it's an origin story. Yes. Actually, my parents had a kids' clothing company growing up, and then, so it flowed from that. Are we live with the audience now?
We are live with the audience.
We are, yeah.
Yes, we are.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you ever used StreamYard before, but there is a button up at the side to see the comments, and that will be the lunacy in the chat, just in case you wanted to.
Oh, hello. Okay, cool. I have used it before, but I've never seen that button before. I was just going to open the YouTube channel.
Yeah, you can.
I do that as well, just to reply.
Yeah, because only I can. I'm the kind of host, so I can reply through StreamYard.
Gotcha.
So you'll see that sort of coming up. But if either of you wanted to reply, you'd have to do it through the YouTube live chat.
It is weird. So we've seen Techniac as well, because I've never interacted with Techniac, but I've seen and heard Zack say the name many, many times.
He's lovely. Techniac is lovely. We actually hang out. Well, when I have Saturdays off, which is Friday night for most of the world, we hang out on a call that Matt Stultz. Yeah, we hang out on a call that Matt Stultz. He's the community manager for Prussia. We hang out with Techniac, and I both hang out on that call. He goes every week because he doesn't have the work schedule that I do. But yeah, we met there, and he and I both. When Zack started his Discord channel, he asked me to help moderate it, and then I was we probably need a few more mods, and Techniac will be good. I know he's a good human, so bring him on.
That's exactly it. So I've never interacted, but whenever I watch any one of Zack, it's always and the mods, Billy and Techniac and
Julie.
Yes.
My fair Julie. Yeah. Though I don't really mod anymore. I'm like, Zack, take my name off. I'm not doing enough. Please take my name off the list because I have been very lazy.
In fairness, I felt like that a few times in yours because by the time I've got to the message, I like you, Allie, and Andy have just pounced, and I'm like,
the whole point.
I've got 40 things to read through.
Well, the whole point of having you two on, it's like, you three, and it's the opposite schedules. So yes, thank you so much for being mods on my Discord server. For anyone who doesn't know, Andy and Jamie are wonderful mods on my Discord server, and thank you very much for that. So so that when I'm sleeping, I don't have to worry about the occasional insane people who come in and want to make life hard. So
there are some insane people around, aren't there? There are some.
I'm right here, guys.
Oh, sorry, Jamie. Yeah, I forgot. Not muted. It is interesting how there are people who also don't know how to behave. They're not necessarily insane, but they just don't know how to behave in a pleasant community.
Yes, right here. Just because I'm from the north doesn't mean you can tell it like that.
You're both from the north of me.
I was going to say, I'm from the north at the moment, yeah, for as far as Billy's concerned,
It depends how far we go south, because if we come back round...
No, because then you're going north again. You hit the South Pole and then you go north again. Daffodil.
I think that's the most beautiful, gentle insult I've ever heard.
Daffodil, might stick, yeah.
Being called Daffodil by Billie Ruben, I think
that's... I don't think I invented that one.
It will be now.
Okay, good. I like it. It's one of my favourites.
Daffodils came up. Yeah, I mentioned daffodils to somebody last night on a medic, but it's probably best not to repeat here. It's a family show.
Yeah. I think I know the story you're on about, and
yes, it's to do with the.
We'll leave that one.
Yeah, it's to do with the fact that daffodils, the stem of a daffodil is not smooth.
It has little
barbs.
Barbs, essentially, yes, that point upwards. Point towards the flower.
Does it tear your skin when you touch them? No.
Depends.
Is that a thing any plants do up there?
Yeah, no, they're not.
You're looking very confused.
If we start going pale, it's because of knowing the story that Andy's on about. An incident.
I think I just got it. Yeah, no.
Just say that there were medics around. Yeah.
Okay.
Medics were nodding knowingly.
I just realised we missed a perfect opportunity last night, Andy, when we were at that wedding, to bring more new followers in with medical backgrounds and telling them exactly who was on tonight. Because if we'd have said, instead of just Billy off of the internet,
folk do love it.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
They love that. They love a good pun, and they love it. So for those that don't realise, my name is a pun on Billie Ruben, which is a byproduct of the breakdown of hemoglobin, and doctors love it.
Yeah, doctors tend to be people who like humour. I think it's a
bad humour, particularly.
Yeah.
Good humour.
Exactly.
And sometimes like I think particularly the emergency services operate on similar humour levels to some of the kinds of armed forces of quite dark humour, which if you're in the know, is kind of you can see that it is actually a coping strategy for what they have to put up with. But if you're not in the know, or if you're in the situation where you're actually needing their services and you happen to overhear something that, although most are professional enough not to do it in front of clients, for want of a better word, it can seem insensitive and in the wrong situation it is. But it is also, humour's great, isn't it? Really, it's there's that phrase from the sort of Reader's Digest of laughter is the best medicine. And I think that's very true. We have.
I'm pretty certain most medical professionals would argue that medicine is probably the best medicine.
Depends what you're trying to treat.
Second best is laughter.
Laughter's a good second, I think.
When there's not medicine, there's laughter.
and laughter is definitely not the best medicine for anyone with diarrhea.
It's probably not much use for a broken leg either. Yeah.
It's terrible.
I mean, we've reached my level of bad humour down here.
Love it. It's great.
Oh, crikey! It's tired plus
done
laughing.
that same thing again, haven't we?
Yeah, faces not working properly again.
10 minutes in with achy faces already.
It's gonna get achy from smiling too much.
I'm kind of
I'm
hoping in 6 months' time, after sort of doing 6 months of the podcast with hopefully the same amount of laughter every week, the face gets used to it.
Defined muscles.
You build up the laughter.
Yeah, get the cheeks.
Nice high cheekbones.
Yeah.
My partner has really high cheeks. He's got this very, I don't know. He looks. He'll hate this. He looks quite a lot like Orlando Bloom. Like Orlando Bloom and Pedro Pascal had like this impossible love child. That's what my boyfriend looks like, and he's got this most perfect like high cheeks. And we'll end up with cheeks like him, all up here. Giggle the roasted away. Someone
just
says,
stops my drooping. That'll do.
Oh, it's a good way to. It's always a good way to start. We've had some pretty good luck on starting our chats with laughter. I like it.
Yeah,
I do like it.
I think it's fair to say we've been sort of building up to having Billie on, though, haven't we? We wanted to
building up. You're silly. I reckon that you're going on the way down if you had Hannah last week. Oh my gosh, how amazing is Hannah? Like, holy moly.
She's amazing. She's so smart.
Yeah, like wicked brains on her.
You're only saying that because you're equally physicist-y.
No, I'm not.
No,
I started a chemistry degree. Right, Andy.
She's got
okay, right.
She's got a master's. She's above me. She's got a master's. I've got a master's. I just taught for 20 years. Yeah, it doesn't make me any smarter than somebody with a master's in physics.
Love Hannah. Oh my gosh.
Did you say you started doing chemistry then, Billie?
Yeah, I started a video game and a chemistry degree at the same time. Only a few years ago, actually. Because I originally was gonna my name. I don't know how much we can say on here. It's YouTube, but the name came about because I started a persona on the internet to help fund my way through medical school. Because I originally wanted to be a doctor.
That was the bit of the story I knew. So that was why I was quite not surprised, but why it threw me when you said about doing chemistry,
Yeah, so I originally wanted to be a doctor, and then, as I said, the name Doctors Love It. So I ended up talking to a lot of doctors and realizing I wouldn't like the everyday job of being a doctor. I just found the human body fascinating, but the everyday kind of job of being a doctor I wouldn't really enjoy. And then
so what about pathology? You could have done pathology. That's a quite interesting one.
I could have, but I'd been out of study for so long that I figured I should start with like something broader, and then just because I'd never really been to uni. I'd done some trade stuff, and I'd been out of school for so long that I figured I'll start with something broader that'll just be useful in general. And I also had this is a long story, but I think it's an interesting one.
Waffle away.
Okay, so my dad doesn't really believe in like climate change or that vaccines work and all sorts of other stuff, which is just like maddening and weird. And I'm like, how do you not understand this? And I realized that like he just didn't do any sciences in high school and then didn't do anything in uni. And the science that he did do way back when, you know, in grade 8 or 9 or whatever, was like many years out of date now. And he just like didn't have the base foundation of like understanding how science worked in order to be able to see and understand that the things he was reading online and the articles he was reading weren't real science. Like, it's not how science works, and that's not and the reasons why they're not valid. Like, he just had no baseline foundational concept of these things, so he couldn't use, you know, complex reasoning to be like, this is junk. And so he would think he was doing research. Like, he would tell me all the time about all his research that he was doing, and through conversations with him, like, it was so maddening because I'd be like, but these are facts. The facts say that the climate is warming, and the facts say that it's changing. Like, facts, they're there, the data, and it just, and then he would present a poem as a combat to my argument. He'll be like, yes, but there's a famous poem in Australia called "I Love a Sunburnt Country," and it goes, "I love a sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of fire and floods and something or other." But it just talks about like crazy weather and stuff. And he would bring this as evidence to be like, look, this poem is like 200 years old. And so it's always been this way. And I'm like, number one, 200 years is not that long in the blink of the globe.
Geologically
and
speaking.
Number two, a poem is not science. And so it would be like maddening for me. But I realized that he honestly, genuinely values those things the same. And if I could tell him a story, like, I couldn't just throw facts at him. I'd be like, facts? Why isn't your mind not changing? More facts. And it like, doesn't change his mind. Like, that's not how to change someone's mind. But I realized if I could tell him a story and paint a kind of picture for him, I could tilt him a bit more in my direction, tilt him a bit more. And then around the same sort of time, I really started playing with VR, like virtual reality technology. And I played Resident Evil 7. And anyone who's played that game knows it is terrifying. I'm editing out my swear words. Terrifying. Like, I couldn't even get into the first encounter. And I watch spooky stuff all the time. I love horror, like, all the time. Terrifying. I couldn't even, I'm like, I'm just not going in that house. I'm just not going in there. It's terrifying. I'm not going in there. And I realized, and it was such a visceral fear. Like, I've had scary things happen to me in real life, but it was so real feeling, so visceral. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could take that storytelling device that is just so powerful and can produce such real feeling emotions and use it to teach science? And I was thinking like magic school bus, you know, shrink down inside your own body and head through your veins and see how, you know, heart disease works, or see like the little ways that your white blood cells learn to combat a virus or whatever, and like how vaccines work and stuff, and just like shrink down or go back in time and visit the dinosaurs. And I just thought, wouldn't it be so cool to use this storytelling device to teach science? And I was really interested in gamification and all sorts of other stuff. So I thought, I'll do a really broad science degree, and chemistry is pretty broad. It's like kind of in between the physics and the biology. You kind of get a tiny hint of both. And I don't know. And I just thought, I just want to be able to speak the language of science so that I can read papers properly and interpret them to be able to turn them into things that teach people science, so I can help to tilt people's understanding in the right direction when they're the kinds of people who don't value facts. Yeah, so that was the story. That's why I did video games and chemistry. Yes, it was a very long
That's
story.
really
I'm
cool.
sorry. That was
No.
quite a waffle.
No, I mean,
we love
perfect place
waffles.
for it.
Yeah. That's really cool, actually. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. There was a newspaper, well, not newspaper, it was kind of a news site headline caught my eye, and I didn't look at it, but it was something along the lines of all students at age 16 in the UK going on to do some form of art type subject. So whether that's sort of arts, yeah, the drawing, sketching, whatever, or whether it's kind of things like history. So the kind of the arts, I suppose, is probably a better way of thinking about it. And I was thinking about in the UK, when you get to 16, you do some exams called GCSEs, and then you go on to A levels. And normally, most students in the UK, when they do A levels, do 3. Sometimes there's 4. Very, very rarely 5. But most people do 3. Sometimes people do 2, and there are some other courses for people who want to do different things. But there's on the continent, a lot of continental Europe, a lot of schools use the International Baccalaureate. Now there are some schools in the UK that do that as well, and I've taught the IB, as it's known, or the IB diploma, and it's really quite cool because you can choose your specialism. So if you want to be a scientist, you go off to do a science degree, or a medic, you take your chemistry, you take your physics, and maybe your biology. But you can also you have to have a language, and it could be a language you've already studied, or you could take a new language up. You have to have something, if you're a scientist, you have to have something art-based. You have to have maths. You have to have English. And in the end, I think there's about you end up taking sort of 7 or 8 subjects. And I think that gives such a much broader education to actually sort of young people going off then into the world to be able to understand how does science work, because even if they're linguists or they're going to go into classical art type subjects like history, or whether it's more social sciences, they still have to have that kind of grounding in critical thinking and sort of science that you get.
That was exactly what I was going to say there, is that doing a science degree, whether or not it is sort of like, the big 3, the chemistry, physics, biology, or any of the subsets within, it's like you very rightly came to, Billy, in that it's more of a lesson in how to think critically, and how to process data, how to organize thoughts in a certain pattern or methodology or things like that. More than perhaps formulas or equations or things like that.
Yeah.
It's a way of thinking and seeing the world, and then just a set of extra facts that you dump in the top, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, especially in high school, it's less about the actual science, because mostly we're just repeating science that has already been done. But like more about the understanding and appreciating too, like appreciating how science works, like understanding that, like, the reason we can make a vaccine in 2 years that is safe is because of the way that science works, like, and the way that they do it all, like, and the structures and processes.
And we're not starting from scratch, and there's 100 years of technology behind it.
Stepping on the shoulders
we
of
didn't
giants,
have to
isn't
first
it?
build the toaster and then come up with a COVID vaccine. Like, like we already have coronavirus vaccines, and we're just you will
design a new version of the wheel. Then put the vaccine in the top.
Yeah.
I think the media has some things to blame there, because
100%.
You get things like, they're using this new technology, the mRNA technology. It's new technology. Yeah, it's like, but it's still 40 years old.
Yeah.
It's new compared to kind of standard vaccine systems that have been around since. Yeah.
Well, it's new compared to rubbing up against a
Cowpox.
cow.
Yeah.
We've moved on from the Aztecs slightly.
Yeah. Oh, look,
It's
the
like
milkmaids don't
PLA
get
is a
smallpox.
plastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
PLA's only been around for like 40 years, and look at the whole industry that's sprung up around because PLA exists. Like, it's like
I didn't know
40
that
years is a
until-
long time in science and technology. Yeah.
Yeah, 40 years is a long time, trust me. I'm over 40, yeah.
But you're not allowed to put any papers in that are 40 years old when you're making a science paper in uni. They're like 40 years old. No, more than 5 is dodgy. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing with science and technology. Like once you get into something being years old, then it becomes problematic.
Yeah, actually, that's why I didn't finish the video games degree. Is because it moved like science. Yeah, was a little like science is quick, but video games is even quicker. I think like the stuff we were learning about in uni was like 10 years out of date, and it's just like that is too long in video games to be in any way effectual. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get deep enough into science, and it's probably harder to get deeper into. But yeah, it's definitely why I didn't finish the video games, because I'm like, I can learn better on YouTube, like literally better on YouTube. So because like by the time people have gone through the uni and they've started their own papers, and then they've contributed them back into the thing, and then they've been turned into a course, that's at least 5 to 8 years at least minimum.
Easy,
and then of course that doesn't happen that quickly, and in real life, so they don't turn the course over that quickly. So yeah, it was just too out of date. I'm like, this is just a waste of money.
And like I say, for the video games, it's quite often while you're learning something, the next generation of the something is being developed and released to new engines and all the rest of stuff. I've got a couple of friends who've sort of gone through video games development degrees and stuff and come out the end of it and gone, that 3 years of me doing the degree is now obsolete for industry.
Yeah.
I think there's almost a. I get frustrated. I've mentioned this before. Billy, you may not know. Quite often, I end up having at least 1 or 2 education rants during the waffles. One of the issues I have with the British education system, or probably the last 15 years or so, is the expansion of universities. So I went to university. It's nearly 30 years since I left university, and at that time, very few people went to university. It was less than 10% of the population. We're now at the situation where we've got roughly half the young people in the country go to university, which in some ways is great. Don't get me wrong, I think it's fantastic. But unfortunately, when you go to university now in the UK, you have to pay. And you have to pay an awful lot of money. And the universities have expanded. And there aren't enough jobs for the graduates. So there was a report in the Telegraph a number of years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago now, at the time. And the situation I don't think will have changed much. That said 75% of graduate level qualifications people in London were not doing graduate level jobs.
Yeah.
So there's an awful lot of people who are getting an awful lot of debt, and they're not able to then actually work in the industry that they perhaps want to work in. Or they're working in the industry, but it's not necessarily at the level that they're trained for.
Something sort of out the back of that kind of links through with what Billy was saying before as well, with the kind of the knock-on effect of that is because of the sheer volume of people going into uni to study something that's essentially seen as more of an academic endeavor. That's reducing the number of people who are studying trades. So then we're reaching this point of all these people stepping out into the big wide world with a degree and no experience, and then nothing else to fall back on, and then a sudden lack of trades as well. So then there's no one wanting to go and retrain to be a plumber or bricklayer or things. So like
plumbers, plumbers can now charge a small fortune.
Can charge more than the degree earners can.
Which I'm not against, to be like. I did start in a trade, and I'm really, really glad. Like I did a apprenticeship as a theatrical costume maker, so kind of sewing-y sorts of trades. But yeah, did a bunch of trade certificates as part of that. And I'm so glad I did. Like I really think the ability to learn and earn money at the same time, and get experience. Really, it's the experience. Is just so valuable. Like I remember just going through that part of my life when all my friends went to uni and I did this apprenticeship thing. And I just made more than them for years and years and years and years. And I took a paid step down to go into the role that I want to for a quality of life up kind of thing, like, 'cause it's something I really enjoy. But yeah, like I could walk into a job that's at 90K really comfortably at this point in my career, and I don't know that any of my friends still could, and all the ones that went to uni still could, and I don't know any that are working in their actual field that didn't first go and finish a degree or two and then come back and are now working in their field and studying their thing that they're doing. So like, and this, I'm early 30s now. So yeah, like I really think there's so much value in getting work experience. Like really it's just that, because all my jobs have been totally different from each other. Like my career has been really wacky. But just being able to say, look, I've done these things and I'm not a terrible person, and I'm reliable, and I work hard, and I like learning quickly, and all that sort of stuff. And
I've worked doing some stuff and haven't been fired yet.
Exactly. Like they like me. Look, they like me. You'll like me. It's just so valuable. I think particularly here in Australia, we don't care as much about degrees, though we're all heavily encouraged to do degrees. Like almost all my friends went to uni, and we're very much in the same boat. But in the real world, when you're actually getting jobs, people don't care as much if you have qualifications or not. They very much care about the evidence that, like, have you done this before? Have you, and like, do you have the right attitude? Like, because we can teach you a lot, but like, you have to be willing to learn and stuff. So, yeah, I think particularly
that's been my career in a nutshell. Because I left school early. I've only got a couple of exams. Nothing degree level, just some like very basic, 3 exams that most school leavers here in the UK would have probably 9 or 10 of. Nothing that would be classed as a set of qualifications, but lots of like trade stuff and experience to back it up. And it's now that if I go and apply for something else, it's the qualifications aren't even a consideration in the hiring process. It's just right. What's the experience? What can you as a person bring to us? And that's it's the qualifications are only really to get you those first 5 years in industry, aren't they?
And I think some areas, like, it obviously matters a lot. Like, you can't go into science without a qualification. You need it. Like, it's like a baseline hygiene factor. But for business and stuff, like, just do it. Like, I don't know. Like, like sciencey, doctory stuff for sure. You definitely need a degree to start with.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You don't want to be treated, operated on in a hospital by someone who's going, I don't actually have a degree, but I've been winging it for I've been practicing for years.
I hit a rat with a hammer once. Is that close enough?
Yeah, there's definitely a limit.
Ian in the Shed made a good point. I've for the people watching on YouTube, obviously they can see it, but for audio listeners, I'll read it out. So he's currently doing a master's in science. When he's finished it, he's got a year to go. He's doing it as well as working. What he'll have learned will be out of date, and this here is a really useful thing for kind of your university level qualifications. The piece of paper won't expire, because what that piece of paper will say is, well, you have the learning ability and the skills to get a master's or to get a degree and things like that. And I think there is something to that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be through have a degree. I was talking a couple of years ago to a university friend of mine. He works for a company that makes, how should we put it, interesting materials. So things that get used from dentures to important parts for aircraft that people in certain governments don't want to be seen by other kind of other governments.
Very delicate.
I'm trying to. And one of the things that he had the opportunity to do is to actually we had some really interesting chats about things like diversity. It was quite diversity in terms of types of people you have in your teams. And also diversity in terms of cultural input in those teams. And for him, the more widely diverse the team was, the better they were able to sort of solve problems and to work on things. But he was talking about, he'd had some young people come in to do internships kind of see before they were going to go off to the degree. So yeah, they finished sixth form. They're thinking of going off to university, so they'll spend their summer doing some work to kind of learn. And he said,
that's such a great idea.
He's had people that he can recognise very, very quickly. Someone who's a good learner, who's got creative thinking skills, who can work hard, and just kind of wants to go. Please come now. We'll have you in. We want you to join the company, because to actually advance in the company, because of essentially politics of company structure, to advance actually for what they would be, their skills are, their talent is, they need the degree.
Yeah,
it's like we really want. It's like he was desperately trying to get sponsorship.
I used to work with an energy assessor who was doing, massive energy calculations for huge buildings and taking into account all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. And it was a job he wanted to do, but getting the degree was, a good foot in the door. So he went and got a geology degree, because his local uni, he basically went, what's the highest pass rate? Kind of seems like the quickest, easiest degree for me to do. So they said, geology, so I'll do that. So he literally just came out the other end 3 years later with a geology degree, so he could go to this company and say, I would like to work for you, please. I have a degree. Doesn't matter what it's in, but it's just, I can prove to you I've got the ability to learn stuff. Teach me your things.
See, I want to step in there and just say, I do not believe that a geology degree could be the easiest degree.
I'm like,
it was the easiest thing. At the uni he was closest to. It was the easiest one.
Maybe it was just the
highest
best.
Pass rate.
Crikey, what else did they do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Relative thing, maybe, because when I did my teacher training, the university I did my teacher training at had a specialism for earth science. They had their own earth science sort of study unit, and they essentially, if you wanted to be a geology teacher, there's not very many geology teachers in the UK, but if you want to be a geology teacher, this was the university you go to. So we had a lot of input on how to teach earth sciences and things like that, including kind of residential trips up into sort of the Peak District and sort of looking at, oh look, we're in the middle of the Peak District, probably further from the coast than any
some
point.
Of our big mountains, that really.
Mountains.
They're hills. Peak District are hills. They're not mountains. They're hills.
Not that big.
Yeah, but
pointy hills.
You're in the middle of the Peak District, as far from the sea as you can get, and the seashells. Yeah, in the rock. It's like it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But we did this exercise. Opposite the entrance to the university was a church with a graveyard, and graveyards are really good for looking at things like erosion, because you've got these slabs of stone, a variety of different stones depending on what you could afford, which have got a conveniently placed on accurate date of when they were planted. So you can look at erosion, and you can look at weathering and different rocks.
Genius.
So we were given this kind of sort of set of worksheets to go into this graveyard and work on, and the geology students were paired up with the non-geologists to kind of guide them and help them. And we had these keys in order to identify the different types of rock. So you kind of work through this key, be in front of a gravestone, you work through this key, right, there's crystal slides of this grains, there's various different things. You sort of tick it off and go, right, that's this type of limestone. And then the geology student would go, no, it's this other type of, it's not actually a limestone, it's a sandstone. Huh, like, okay. So then you go to the next one, you go, okay, right, so this is the sandstone. You go, no, that one's a limestone. It's like, they look the same.
Thing I trying to identify bugs. I had the same experience trying to identify bugs.
Yeah. That's why I didn't do biology either. Yeah, it's like botany or something like that. It's just like,
I'm like, but it's got the three things. And
it's that ash or is that elm? It's the same shaped leaf. One's bigger than the other, but they're trees. The leaves are different sizes. How? I can tell an oak. Oak's a different shape to any other tree. Horse chestnut. It's a different shape.
Have oaks down here.
I just went route one. I've got ones and zeros. That's all I need.
If this, then that's.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, crikey!
I don't know that we have oak down here. Are they the round sort of?
Yeah, they kind of got a roundish sort of.
Seen them
leaves.
on TV. We have weird plants and animals down here. All our nature's pretty weird. Like,
And deadly.
broke off pretty early and just got strange. Pardon? What was that?
All of your stuff down there is trying to kill everyone.
Well, when you were saying before about the daffodils, I was like, oh, do they hurt people if they get scratched? Because there's lots of plants here. Well, not lots, but there's a decent amount that have the little barbs, and the barbs are actually made out of like a silica. I think it's silica. It's something like that. So they end up like sharp, like glass sharp, like broken glass sharp. And if you brush them when you're walking through, they will just cut you like a big razor blade. And
we have a few plants in the UK that are nasty. I mean, there's things like brambles, which
20
like
centimetre long thorns.
Yeah, but they grow really quickly, and you get things like occasionally you get trees like the hawthorn, which have quite sharp little spikes on them, and the ends tend to break off. So if it does get you, the end breaks off and ends up kind of bits get stuck in, which is really difficult.
Do they have like an irritant in them? Like, are they like?
No. They're just big. No, we don't have.
We do tend to have lots of swear words in them, though.
They bring them out. Yeah. I mean, we have a few irritant plants. Stinging nettles that inject formic acid into your skin.
Oh, yeah.
But that's relatively mild. We have. I think the only one that's really nasty that I know of is giant hogweed. Which literally it grows huge plants, and if you get caught on they have.
I mean, it's just the plot of Harry Potter, though.
Yeah, almost. Yeah,
like,
it could be. I mean, they're quite. They grow huge. It could be in Harry Potter, and if you get scratched by them, your skin will come up in blisters, huge blisters.
Ooh.
But that's the worst thing we've got. Well,
that's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. It is bad. But
let's be real.
Yeah, and they're not just like randomly found in everyone's garden, like all
no,
stuff
they're
that you guys have.
quite unusual. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the plants in general aren't found in everyone's garden. You'd have to be bushwalking. Like, we do have some animals that you have to be wary about, but I mean, I don't know. Most of the animals here are so lazy. It's too hot, and they're also not highly evolved. Like, they haven't had lots of predators, and they haven't had lots of the evolutionary pressures that a lot of the rest of the world have had. So they're just not really that well evolved. So they're quite inefficient animals. Like, people say koalas are drunk because they eat eucalyptus. They're not. They just don't get much nutrients from them because they haven't needed to get much nutrients from them. So they're just real lazy. Like, and most of our animals are like that. Most of our animals are just really lazy. So if you see them and you're like, I will leave you alone, then nothing happens. Like, nothing happens. And most of the time, they'll want to get away from you. There's only a couple of animals that I really would worry about here in Australia. And one is a saltwater crocodile, really easy to avoid. Just don't swim in cans. And the other one is a king brown snake, which will just chase you down and kill you for spite. And their bite does kill you in 6 minutes. And usually they're found in the countryside. So, like, you're really, really far from any hospitals. So there's something to be wary of. But other than that, everything else will, like, if you give them a chance to run away, they will run away. Like, they don't want to mess with you. Yeah, because they can't eat you, and you're a waste of poison or whatever else. Like, they can't eat you.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think, in fairness, for me, the temperature is always going to be about 30 degrees too high for me to be comfortable in Australia, in any part of Australia, even in the middle of your winter. But so far, there's only a very small number of things that would drag me over there. And quokkas is one of them.
They're only on a very small island, so you don't even have to go to the mainland. And I think that island probably doesn't have many snakes and stuff, so you're probably good. You could just airplane hop to Quokka Island. I don't know which one it is.
I might just live there for a couple of weeks, just exist among them, and then come away.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
I'll just sit in the middle, just like the giant quokka.
Kangaroos and stuff, like, that's really fun. Yeah. Like, at a lot of zoos. Yeah, you can, like, feed them, and that's real fun. And you can give them a little scritch, and they're very friendly. They're quite fun. Oh, magpies! Someone's saying, except for magpies, they swoop out of spite. Yeah, yes. But if you make friends with the magpies in the non-breeding season, they don't swoop you. They just sing at you, which is what I do every time I start in a new neighborhood, because I walk everywhere because I don't drive. I always just like say good morning to the magpie and just be like, hey magpie, how you doing? And like wander on, and they like get used to you, and then when they have babies, they don't get scared of you and they don't swoop you. I don't know whether I'm just lucky, but I've never been.
They are intelligent birds.
Yeah, I think they kind of get to know you. They're like
the sort of like impression I have of you, Billy, is like the sort of the Disney princess type that walks out and
Snow White,
and just that sort of like sort of start singing, stretch your arms out, and they all just come over to you singing their songs.
A lovely song though. They have a really beautiful little song. They're like, I think people forget that they're a songbird. They have this like and it's like this cute little happy chortle. Like it's really sweet. They have a lovely little song, and yeah, if you make friends with them, then they're all right. I don't know.
It's like the same with most animals, though, isn't it? If you show you sort of non-threatening, then they're not gonna, in general, go for you.
Yeah, in general.
I saw an interesting meme. I mean, you see, obviously, we think I see videos every now and again of kind of normally it's something like Dan Brent dropping a video somewhere that kind of sort of kangaroo jumping through a car because the car just happens to be going along the highway and the kangaroo's going this way and the kangaroo just keeps going. It's like
they're basically our deer. Like they're kind of stupid and they like being on roads and in the morning and dusk, and they're basically our deer. Yeah.
But an interesting thought. I saw a meme a couple of days ago comparing a kangaroo with its very powerful back legs, quite small arms, although they have quite a reach, but they're not as muscular as their legs. A sort of essentially a triangular body, although some of the videos I see are the boxy ones. Yes, comparing it to a T-Rex.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But if you, I don't know that I've ever seen a T-Rex lie down like kangaroos do. If you've never seen a kangaroo lie down, you have to look that up because they're like Fabio. They're like just luxuriate and have a little scritch like this. And they're just like lying down. They're amazing.
Paint me like one of your French ladies, yeah.
But yeah, literally. There's a beach just out of Sydney, and they just love lying all over that beach, and they just all lie around and scritch, and they like chew like this. So they're just like this seedy guy, just like lazing about. They're glorious. They're amazing.
I've just got the urge now to make a meme to just get that and just say, paint me like one of your koalas.
I want to see a T-Rex lie down like that now that you've said it, though. Like
maybe they did. Maybe they bounced.
Maybe they did.
Maybe they bounced around.
Maybe they. Can you imagine?
Yeah, imagine the thumping. Yeah, bump, bump, bump. They're going
the
around.
size of the craters.
That would be amazing. You just get the two footprints. So good. I kind of wish they did. That would be amazing.
You know, when you see the videos of the kangaroos like having the boxing matches.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how close they'd have to be as T-Rexes, though? Like resting their chin on each other's shoulders.
It's so funny. It is really funny, though, that, what is it? Is it convergence? Something like that, where animals that are totally separate lineages evolved the same traits.
Yeah, divergent
evolution. I've always found that so fascinating. Yeah, it's got some. Yeah. It's really fascinating how evolution kind of reinvents similar builds. Though kangaroos and T-Rexes have pretty different stresses. I imagine they don't even eat similar stuff. But yeah, pretty interesting how that happened.
Volumetrically as well, it's an interesting shape and configuration to end up in. With the sheer sizes. Weird. Yeah.
And
one of the just reminded me of the kind of like similar sort of thing of the way that the divergent evolution sort of thing happens. They've noticed a similar thing with certain types of problem solving of animals in different parts of the world, and there were two groups of sheep in two different parts of the world that both learned how to get over cattle grids around the same time.
By rolling, or how do they do it?
By rolling.
Yeah, rolling. Yeah.
Amazing.
But they, in two completely different parts of the world, both learned it around the same time.
There you go. There's a myth on this island that I holiday at all the time called Norfolk Island, which is a beautiful island. And if you're ever down this way, go there. It is one of the most beautiful places you will ever visit. But yeah, there's a local myth about a cow that, because they have cows that roam everywhere because the island's so small that the cows just graze on the side of the road, basically. And you got to avoid them. You can't hit them. But they get into people's gardens if you don't have a cattle grid. And there was this myth about a cow that learned how to get over the cattle grid, and it would just roll everywhere and get into everyone's gardens. And it's just like this local legend. And yeah, it's
cows are
great.
not the shape for rolling.
No, they're not really. And the funny little legs that get halfway and get stuck. Cows are so funny. They're funny. They're like a barrel with little toothpicks sticking out. It's just so bizarre.
But
I love
personality-wise, they're like 2-year-olds as well. They're just really, really, really curious creatures.
Yeah.
You see when like people have been stood at the side of the road, like playing an instrument or something, and then all the cows come over and they're like, "What's that sound?"
Yeah,
wonderful.
We were drawing them on Norfolk because there's just so many and they're so lovely. And then the Jersey cows too, with the really pretty faces. They got like little deer faces and big, beautiful brown eyes, and they're just so. And we were like painting them and drawing them because we're arty people, me and my family, and yeah, watching them with their little babies, and the little babies would like come around and like check stuff out, and the mum would just walk just out of like always just keeping just in tow with the babies, and I'm like. There's so much love between you, and I felt quite bad about eating hamburgers that day, but I didn't stop. but I did for a moment think, gosh, there's really a lot of love and a lot of curiosity going on in your heads, isn't there? Like they're really lovely, lovely creatures. Yeah,
not a lot else going on in their heads though.
But they're really so sweet. Like they're just lovely little things. Well, big things. They're really big, but you know,
yeah,
very lovely. Yeah, I always forget how big they are until I stand next to one, and I'm like, far out. Freaking huge.
And if you ever get to stand next to, we have in the UK we have kind of agricultural shows.
Yes,
and,
we do too.
People, there'll be horse
Royal
jumping and
show.
things like that. Yeah,
we have
And everyone, all the farmers bring their kind of their best sheep or their best goats or their best chickens and the best cows, and you see some of the kind of particularly the bulls and some of the size of some of the kind of you just like
some of the.
And these things are just huge, and they're like 2 meters wide. Yeah, never mind long, and like a ton of just beef, and all really muscly as well. And it's not like
and brushed. They're all like clean.
Yeah, because they've all been clean. And it's like,
they got the hair all done up.
Got the part
trim.
in.
Yeah, they do. They get all cute. It's really cute. Yeah, we have that.
I love it. It's in like we talked about like the kind of the cute behaviors of them and stuff like that on places like iBleach and things like that on Reddit, where you get where you get like the cows with their people friends, just sort of like lounging out in a field and just like just like plunking their head on and just
cows with brushes when they make those cow brushes, and the cows just love them. There's a business I saw on YouTube, and their whole thing is making and installing cow brushes, and I was like, oh my god, if that was your job, you would just die happy. You get to make stuff, and then you get to give it to cows and watch them enjoy it, and just like you would just die happy. It would just be the best job ever. I'm just like, so good, such a good scratch. Like they just look so happy.
I mean, I'm not surprised because they can't reach to scratch their own back. So.
And they get all salty and dusty, and everything loves being brushed. Horses, they love being brushed. You bring out a curry comb and they're like, oh yes, give me a brush. Yeah, sorry, could ramble about it.
Humans do too, don't they? Yeah, you kind of most humans like it too.
I do the same. I
go to a barber's or a hairdresser and they brush your hair. It's quite, unless you've kind of got really knotty hair, it's quite a cathartic experience.
Like mine. Mine's very knotty right now. Just knotty hair. Yeah, I'm very bad at brushing it.
I brush that every day.
The little one right there.
I'm
sorry. Just give it a mess. I get a hair right here in the middle of my forehead, just one, like a unicorn horn, right there. I pluck it.
I get one.
One.
I've got one that comes out about there, which every now and again pulls and pluck. And I've got beard hair that is about a centimetre above my. It's like half up to my eyes.
Yeah, I get loads of random ones there.
I
get one right in my chin, sort of.
Just one there. I actually do get a couple there from I got a scar. I fell off a scooter when I was a kid, and a couple grew out of a scar there. It's so strange. I'm weird. Like, why? It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, a couple of really weird hard chin hairs. They just decided to grow a bit of beard. I don't know. It's very weird.
Maybe you're becoming a billy goat.
Maybe. Or my internet rage has increased my testosterone levels or something.
We probably should, as soon as we've got a good 50 minutes in, we probably should explain to people that you are sort of reasonably well known on the internet.
Internet famous.
A little bit well known.
It's quite weird, actually. I got recognized twice in real life in the last couple of weeks, which has not really happened that much before. And I feel like I've been quieter than ever on the internet. Like, I've been really quiet for a while now. So yeah, it was quite interesting.
Your reach on the internet is colossal. Almost every single person who's ever heard 3D printing has seen one of your infographics, your posters.
Yeah, well, I think that's where it all started. Hey, yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry. But I mean, like almost every time you go onto like a Facebook page or any kind of bit of help somewhere that someone's asked about or something, and it's like, oh, I found this poster online. This seems pretty good. It's like, yeah, credit to the author, please. That's Billie's. It says right at the top, Billie Ruben.
Yeah, I like yeah, that was born out of, well, I think I became a moderator on the subreddit, and then every second help question on the subreddit on the 3D printing subreddit could have been solved by leveling. Like, it's just one of those things, particularly back in the day before the Prushas were as popular and before auto leveling was as popular in a lot of machines, like 5 years ago. You kind of
when everyone used to press their hand down on the top of the bed to lift the part off.
Yeah. And like the paper leveling thing was really popular. Like, you level it with the paper, and that's such a weird thing to describe to someone what that should feel like. Like, it's really not very and it's so hard to describe. And even if you see it on video, you can't really get a feel for what that looks like. And yeah, so I wanted to combine a few bits of knowledge that I gathered from around places to just help solve that question. Like, just put it all in one place and be like, here you go, here's some pictures, here's what it should look like, here's how to identify it, here's why it's important, here's all this stuff. Because people will be like, my prints just keep failing, it's not leveling, I've leveled it 100 times. I'm like, yeah,
but have you leveled it properly once?
Right. Yeah. And it's so frustrating. And I feel like, because they're sold like an appliance, like I bought my first one in Aldi, which is literally a grocery store. Yeah, and people expect I plug in my appliance, it does the thing, and like there's a meme about paper printers being dodgy, but we're kind of used to paper printers mostly working nowadays. Like, they've come a long way, but like, like there's a meme, and people still, we still kind of believe it'll be some struggle, but like we will get a print eventually. But like with 3D printing, you can try for weeks and weeks and weeks, and if you don't have a bit of guidance that like actually helps you, it'll just continue to fail forever, and it's so frustrating. And I think because I came from a relatively non-mechanical background, like I'm quite good at digital stuff and handcrafty stuff, but I really hadn't done much mechanically sort of stuff before I started 3D printing. I just wanted the thing. Like, I just want it to do the thing, and I just want to have the thing at the end. I don't really enjoy the tinkering part as much, which I think is a huge part of the hobby, and I'm so grateful for all the people that do enjoy the tinkering, because we get so many awesome developments and stuff. But like, I personally don't enjoy that. I just want the thing. And so everything was just so frustrating. I just really wanted to help other people avoid that whole emotional struggle that I went through. So yeah, that's why I made the poster, the first one, which was a leveling one, and then I made a few more after, and I'm like, the second most common question we got was, what software should I use? And everyone would just say Fusion 360, and I'm like, that's not actually for everything. Like, it's not suited for sculpting and other things, like, if you have a real life object or whatever, and so yeah, I wanted to better explain that too, and just have a quick, here's a link kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it's because you've also done the sort of off the back of that, what software should you use? You've also then got, how should you use it? Your explanations of adding chamfers to the bottoms and fillets to the sides, and those kind of things that are very obvious when you understand what's going on, but completely opposite to what people would normally think. They go, oh yeah, but I want it nice and smooth on the edge, I want a nice rounded top. Yes, but that won't give you a nice rounded top.
Yeah.
And it's those kind of processes that, I mean, I've mentioned to you before that Andy was actually one of my students on doing a Fusion 360 course. And we also had Duncan from Little Hobby Shop, who's in the chat there somewhere, who did a follow-on course. It was for Fusion, specifically for 3D printing stuff. I'd kind of done like a general overall using the software, but we used your guidance there as a look. This is what we've based the course on because it is such good, starter material. Here's your Bible, and we're going to show you some examples of what we're going to do. And that was like our sort of introduction to, dragging the guys along to come and see what Billie's doing. It's been a hugely valuable resource just in general, like across the community as a like you say, a place where you can point a new person to the fold, if you like, and so look, here's the thing. Print that off, keep it to the side of your printer, and that's your quick reference because it's got the information there. If you're going to print it off, use it for leveling as well if you want.
Yeah.
At least you know what you're looking for when you're moving the paper.
You're doing it. Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess. Yeah. Oh, that's really lovely to hear. Thank you. I'm glad it's helpful. I think I learned I've had ADHD. Like I learned in the meantime since making those posters that I have ADHD, and I think that kind of helped too in making them because I found with a lot of technical things and programming is a bit like that too. Is that actually no, programming is a bit better, but like I don't know, video editing. I learned video editing relatively recently because I was trying to do the whole YouTube thing, and I was using DaVinci Resolve because it's free and good, but quite hard to get into. And when you're looking for help on it, there's lots of videos out there. But you only want this 30 seconds of the like 30-minute video, and it's so hard to like find just the bit you need, and then it doesn't have the context because the bit that makes that bit work was 10 minutes ago in that video, and and it's just I find that type of learning so frustrating because most adults learn because they want to do something with that knowledge. They want to use it for their own goals. They don't want to replicate the thing that is being made usually, and so I think like those posters are also work well because they're not like a 10-page guide and they're not like a 40-minute video, and they're like you can look at it and all the information is there, and it is abbreviated. It is like there is more to all of those topics, of course, because you can't fit it all on a poster, but it really does help to like get you started without overwhelming. And I think when people are making guides in general, a lot of people just want to put all the information there. And it means that people just get overwhelmed and then they don't ever actually use it, which is tragic considering the gems of knowledge that are hidden within. So if you can present it really well, then people use it, I think.
And there is a tendency by some people writing guides to follow the principle of why use 3 words when 15 will do the job.
Ah, Jamie!
For the benefit of audio listeners, later in the week, Jamie is currently holding up the printed versions.
One of Billy's proper posters.
Yeah, because they are actually available to buy from Billy's shop.
Did you buy them? Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's really lovely.
You'll notice I haven't actually put them up anywhere yet because there isn't any wall space to put them.
You have to put them on the back of the door there.
I was going to say, back of the door.
I've got a little bit of slanted roof here. I was thinking of just putting it up there because I normally CAD on that screen and then just have it right above.
When all else fails, there's always the ceiling. I love it. Oh, thank you. Oh, and for anyone who hasn't seen them before, you can also download them for free. If you go to my website and go to the shop page, it does link to the Redbubble shop if you want to give me money, but there's also a link to the free versions, which you can just download. And
we'll make sure the links are there in the...
oh, thank you.
The show notes.
Well worth using as a reference.
Thank you so much, Jamie. That's really so lovely. But I completely agree, Andy. A lot of people could say something in 3 words what they spend 15 saying.
Yeah. And that's a. And don't get me wrong. There are times, if you're writing an essay for sort of university or something like that, and there's a minimum 4,000 words. It's like, oh, I'm 100 short. How do I make this longer? But by turning some of these 3-word phrases into 15-word phrases in a couple of sentences. So there is a skill to that, but I think for actually imparting information to other people so that they can learn, reducing that information down to the basic amount of information they need in the simplest form is generally not something that everyone can do, but it is kind of a majorly important skill.
Well.
Yes.
I think there is a certain irony here in the fact that, you and I very much crave that sort of thing, Andy, that being able to pick and choose what and how quickly we learn something. I know that the pair of us, when we're watching things or listening to things, we tend to go above 1x speed just to just to bend time, try and fit more in before sleep happens. But I do appreciate the fact that this is the type of people we are, but yet that we've created a podcast that is generally about very long form waffles that meander on tangents and discuss in 56,000 words what we could have explained in 14.
Definitely a ironic situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, me too. Like, I have a sort of similar interviewer maker kind of style podcast thing, and same thing. But I think it's a time and place thing too. I think I love long chats with friends, like having a great time right here. And it's different to when you specifically want to know a thing because you're trying to do a thing. You know, like sometimes you're like
trying to do the thing before the whole thing disappears out your head.
Yeah. Yes.
Before the next squirrel runs past.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned infographic, then diagnosis of ADHD.
Yeah.
Do you think the? I'm trying to kind of how to phrase this in the best sort of way. Do you think when you kind of were diagnosed as ADHD, you kind of went, that's one of the reasons why I like infographics like this?
100%. It made my whole life make sense because I've struggled with depression, anxiety since I was a teenager. Like it never really got to the root cause and just thought, it must be just a chemical thing. You know, I've just got a chemical imbalance and that's just how it is kind of thing. But having worked out that it's actually ADHD underneath it all, I've been quite a lot more well than I ever have been, and all sorts of stuff. And it made all my childhood make sense, and the way I am at work makes sense, and why some things really annoy me and don't annoy other people, and why I'm good at some things that other people really struggle with. And like, just my whole world just fell into place. And it was like, wow, I can't believe all this time. It's not just that I'm a bit mad. Like there's an actual reason behind this all and a rhyme, and I can kind of make sense of it and manipulate myself a bit better into, now that I have this knowledge, I can kind of work with that knowledge to do the things that I want to do. And
you can approach the situations from the right vantage point, can't you?
100%. But it definitely, the posters and stuff made that make a lot of sense. I was like, maybe that's why I'm good at this kind of thing, distilling things down to a one-pager. Because I've worked as an instructional designer before, and that's that job that I said I could probably walk back into if I wanted to, and really enjoyed it. But I'm quite good at taking a subject matter expert who wants to give you all the information in the world and distilling it down into just what the learner needs, which is and it's weird because like I think we all learn, right? We all learn every day, and I think particularly people on this call would be quite familiar with the act of learning. But when you're designing learning, it's actually, well, it wasn't for me at least, very intuitive, because I found learning so natural, and you could kind of just give it to me. If I was interested in it, I was going to learn it, and you could give it to me in whatever format it came in, and I would just sink my teeth into it and get it. But like the act of designing learning, I had to like develop as a skill, I had to be like, how does one make learning that is effective? I learned a great appreciation for it. Obviously, I really, really enjoy that. But it wasn't necessarily intuitive. And I think a lot of subject matter experts, which is part of the struggle I had with uni actually, was that, the professors and the lecturers and tutors and stuff, they were tutoring because they were a subject matter expert, and they hadn't necessarily also learned how to transfer knowledge to students.
So understand that.
Okay, good. I'm glad you agree, because like
I think we're winding up to another Andy rant.
Sometimes it's a contentious thing to say. But I really wish that they had a compulsory, even just a couple of subjects of like basic stuff, how to take your knowledge and because I actually think it's the hardest thing when you're a subject matter expert to make learning for someone, because, and I did it recently, I had to teach some sewing, And I sucked at it because I did so much intuitively and naturally. It was so ingrained in me that I couldn't consciously think of all the things that the learner needed to know. And so my poor guinea pigs for the first session that I did, I just did not give them half the things they needed. And, you know, I was able to fill in the gaps in the meantime. But I think it's always the hardest thing to teach is when you're a subject matter expert at something. If you've recently learned it, you know what that journey is like. And so it's much easier to take someone by the hand and take them through that journey and just help them avoid the humps that you had to go over. But
I think it's an interesting, that's an interesting thing. Mid-noughties, I had to teach a class, biology. Physics is my specialism. I had taught, when I first started teaching, I had taught biology, chemistry and physics to GCSE, so the 16-year-olds. But pretty much then, because of the shortage of physics teachers. Just to get an idea, I've heard of some figures this week. There are approximately 4,200 secondary schools in the UK. There are approximately 2,000 physics teachers.
Wow. So do they have chemistry teachers doing physics and stuff?
Yep, so chemistry, majority of science teachers are biologists.
Yeah.
Now, it just happened this particular time, I had to teach biology. And the class were kind of like, so we really like us teaching, or are you teaching us biology? Because you're really explaining stuff very simply. And you're putting things down very clearly. And it was like, basically, I said, I'm a page ahead of you on this.
Yeah.
I haven't done biology since I was doing my O levels. You know, before some of your parents were.
That's why it's like scratching into stone tablets and that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
with harder stones and with dinosaur claws. Yeah, because they're good for scratching. Yeah.
We dug them out of the wall.
But that's that ability to sort of focus on it. But as a physics specialist, I would say, with experience of being able to then simplify things, which comes with experience, having taught thousands of kids, I can go into much more depth and explain things in a much more different ways than I could ever do for biology because it's not my subject. I have a whole catalogue of stories and anecdotes and demonstrations and things. When a kid goes, "No, I don't get this," I can come up with 6 or 7 different explanations for it, and they will get it, which I would never have been able to do with the biology.
That makes a lot of sense.
So I think this to me, this kind of, in one hand, not being the expert, having to work it out for myself was great. But there's also that element of, actually, I need the subject knowledge, but you have to be able to transfer it. As you said, some of my university lecturers were blooming awful at actually share. They obviously knew their stuff. They'd been at university for a long time. They were doing great research, writing paper after paper. But could they teach? Not for toffee.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you then, Andy, because I think Billy might be very similar to me in that sense. I want to sort of see whether you're of a similar kind of way of brain happening. But when you have a subject matter that you know intimately, like sewing for you, Billy, or the 3D printing or the infographics or the things that you are passionate and informed about and good at explaining about, do you find with teaching physics, Andy, when you get a kid who is enthused on it and wants to learn, that all of the knowledge comes out all at once and all in the wrong order, and you're trying to tell them all of the steps at the same time? Because I know that I did exactly the same thing with the first couple of fusion lessons. Was going, although when I was teaching fusion, I'd only learned it 3 weeks before, but I know CAD well.
Yeah.
But it was that thing of like, I was trying to explain, like, oh, so then you use this bit, and then you bring this thing in from over here, and then you do this for this. Then you haven't learned this yet. But you learn.
So we're going to start hard jumping before we can crawl. Yeah. Yeah.
So the plane takes off, and then we put the wheels down. You learn to stop
yourself, and you learn to go, we'll actually look at that at the end, or we'll actually look at that after we've done a bit. Like, you learn to. Yeah, I have to consciously do it though. When someone asks a question, it's a really awesome question that definitely I could go down a rabbit hole. I kind of sometimes I just have to go, we have to do these first few steps first kind of thing. And just like,
Remind
and you
me
just
in a
tell
bit.
them that like most of the time. You're just like, we will come back to that because it's really interesting, but we're going to do these few bits first and then that will make sense kind of thing.
You've just started to crawl.
And that
so
happens,
you find the
you know,
same, Andy?
yeah, that happens in school where you kind of have to go, great question, we will get to that.
Yeah.
And there are times when you're almost like forced by the curriculum to do something in a certain order. And curriculum design is an interesting challenge. Yeah, it's slightly different from sort of infographic here. What order do you teach things in? You know, if you're teaching physics, you know, do you start with forces, or do you start with electricity, or do you do space? Because that'll get interesting.
Straight to Tesla coils, then explosion.
Yeah,
and then
it's how do you take the learner on a journey that's going to best suit them.
Yeah, the journey. It's I completely agree though. That's such a question. And then it's also like the journey within the journey too.
Yeah.
Like the little
the worst thing is
it's
not necessarily the same journey for each different group. And I think that's the thing that comes with experience of teaching. If you're taking time to actually think about your teaching, because I would argue there are some teachers, they get into teaching, they don't really ever think about their teaching, they just deliver the same thing, don't necessarily look to improve their own skill and practice. At the time I finished as a teacher, I was a much better teacher than when I started, by far. Yeah, there was a whole raft of experience, and there's all those little experiences of those little interactions where somebody goes, I don't get it, I'm not sure about this, what's gone wrong, sir? You know, all those sort of little things. Yeah, over time you develop that, and anyone can do that. Yeah, or was the bench on fire? That happened a couple of times. Yeah, first time that was scary. The first time that happened, it's like, sir, hang on, I'm dealing with somebody. I'm dealing with somebody else. No, sir, hang on,
fire's getting bigger.
The bench is on fire, sir. Oh, yeah, so it is. Yeah, that bit scary.
Cut it the other day.
Yeah.
The second time wasn't as scary as the first, like you said.
Well, this is it. With experience, when things start going wrong, I can remember the last time a power pack, old power pack, exploded isn't quite the right word. Magic smoke billowing out.
Unscheduled disassembly.
Yeah, but only the gaseous products.
Wasn't that the SpaceX thing? It was an unscheduled rapid disassembly of one of the rockets.
Oh no! Oh dear! Graphic disassembly. Oh, okay, that's great. Sorry.
I love stuff like that. Those phrases. Yeah, I can never remember them when they at a good point to sort of deliver them. But I think it comes with it's experience, though, isn't it? It comes with experience and knowing when to do something and how to do something, and you make mistakes, and then you learn from those mistakes, and that's the sort of key thing to do. And ideally, you learn from other people's mistakes. But I think certainly you having worked with teenagers an awful lot, they don't like necessarily learning from other people's mistakes. They'll point out your mistakes.
They don't make mistakes. Teenagers don't make mistakes. They know everything.
I don't make mistakes, but occasionally, every now and again, I'll put something into test to see whether you're paying attention.
I still say that at work now.
Just checking. Just checking.
A friend of mine is also a physicist, actually, but among other things, again, one of these crazy people that can just do anything. And for a while, did a lot of stand-up magic, but because he's like supremely like off the nerd scale, he was doing some juggling, I think, or something, and it became sort of like a standard thing. If he dropped something as part of the magic act, he would just say, "Oh, it's a good job the floor was there, or that would have gone for miles." It's like, total. Yeah. The nerds in the room will go.
Yeah. That's perfect. I think I'm lucky in that I teach adults mostly, which I think I'm lucky for, because like you can just like be honest with them when something goes wrong, you can just be like, oh, that's not meant to happen, or whatever.
And they generally
Teenagers will give you a
well.
really hard time for it, but like adults, it'll actually calm them down, I think, a bit. It kind of lowers the stakes a little bit. Like they don't have to be perfect because the facilitator's not perfect. Which is actually like, because adults come into the classroom and they're usually almost 100% of the time their biggest fear is looking silly, and like, so if you've already messed up a little, they feel a bit calmer and they're like, oh, I got this, I wouldn't have made that mistake, so I'm good, you know. Like, so it's actually better for
I know of instructors who will deliberately do something wrong so that they will sort of show students that it's all right to not do everything perfectly.
Yeah, I think
it's quite often a good way of explaining how to get back from a cock up as well. You know, like, look, mistakes will happen. Here's how you fix them, as opposed to just going, "Thou shalt not make mistakes."
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, with adults, the other good thing is they come with a lot of pre-existing knowledge, which can sometimes be hard because sometimes you have to overcome existing knowledge that is incorrect. But usually if with a bit of pre-planning, that's pretty easy to overcome. But is also good because if you get stuck, you can just be like, does anyone here know? Like, and if you have 20 brains in a room, often one of them will know the solution to something you don't know. Especially when they're adults, like kids might be a bit harder, especially if you're teaching something like physics, because they just won't know. but if you've got adults and you're teaching something that they're interested in, like some of them will know the answers probably to whatever you bring up.
Or at least give you a new perspective on getting to the answer.
Yeah, definitely. Or know where to look for it or anything else. And so I think that's one of the advantages of teaching adults.
Like I said, they generally want to learn more than the kids do.
Yeah, if it's something they've willingly participated in. I used to teach, I used to do it for work, and then they're just like, oh, it's a boring training day. But then you got to turn them around and be like, this is a fun training day where we do cool shit stuff. Sorry. I'm trying not to swear this whole time. I'm like really bad. I've been trying.
It's fine. Don't worry. We're not worried. We don't worry about it too much.
Okay, it's after the first 5 minutes, so I think we're good, right? Isn't that the rule?
Yeah, I mean, it's at the start. We were sort of trying, and then we just not at the start of this one. I mean, just at the start of the whole podcast.
Yeah, very very lazy podcast style. We have it's like no formal thing. Don't bother try and fit everything into a time limit. Editing's minimal.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, what it essentially is, it's Andy and I getting to have some great conversations with people we want to become better friends with, but under the guise of having it as a podcast.
Because
it forces it to happen every week.
Yeah. Just like hang out with someone for a while and just be like, wow, what a cool human. Yeah.
I mean, because we get to, I mean, for the benefit of the listeners and the watchers of the people, not the watchers of the people. We are the people.
The audience?
Watchers of the us. Yeah.
Watchers of the us.
I should just stop doing words for a bit.
It's been a long weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Andy and I both get to hang out with you quite a lot anyway, Billy.
Yes,
but
I'm very lucky in that.
Not in face-person space.
It is lovely though to have faces.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, because you know when you talk to someone a long time and you build a picture in your brain about how they look, and I mean I do know how particularly you, Andy, look, because Jamie's a bit more hidden on the internet, but there are some pictures of Andy out there. Jamie's got this one, but I think you actually I don't think Jamie has his face on Twitter. You don't have your face on Twitter, do you? It's like a logo. Or am I wrong?
Logo,
on Discord, it's not your face. Yeah, but Andy, I think anyway. It is nice to like put faces to the words and have a voice, and like you've got lovely British accents, so it's nice to hear. now I'll be reading everything in your lovely British accents.
Yeah, at least it'll have context now when we order words in a certain way. What do they mean by that? You know, they say it in their accent. It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cracky.
So there was something I did want to have a natter about.
Oh, yes.
Because you and I have both got the same printer. One of the same printers. Which I think we're reasonably unique on in the... That is the one. Your Delta.
It's really hard. I'm not sure if I mirrored or not, but it's confusing.
It's like it's there for me.
Gotcha.
Which is better than the audio's listeners is off screen.
Yes. And mine is just by my right ear, left ear.
Right behind you. Yeah.
This ear. And ear.
You tried to work out which is left and right by
I'm trying to work out which
looking
one
at the picture or remembering
right.
which hand you were using.
Anyway, yes, we've got the same printer. What were you thinking?
Yeah, no, in the fact that you've done much more beautiful things with your Delta than I have. Because for me, my Delta has become this like, let's make it go as quick as possible. I've stuck a monster nozzle on it, and I've like completely redesigned the effector, made it all super lightweight, made it go super fast.
That's
a
awesome.
whole lot. Whereas you've made yours print some absolutely beautiful things. And specifically, I was showing my daughter the video, well, and my wife as well, the video of the feathers the other day.
Oh, I brought props, and the feathers are one of them.
Exactly, because my wife and my daughter both do a lot of stuff, the fabric stuff and costumes and things like that. So I was like, I need to show you the thing that Billie did, and then showed them the video of the feathers. And then when I was watching it, I was like, I forget that the Delta can do nice little finesse things that look pretty and not just like big squidges of plastic.
I think, Deltas are great. They're like the sports cars of 3D printers. They can go super speedy and they look super sexy. Like, they're so cool as they move. Like, they're the coolest looking printers. I don't care what anyone says. But they also break down and they're really annoying when they break down. Like, very annoying.
Because they're so alien to normal ways of thinking that
they're more robotic looking.
I don't know which axis is wrong. I know something is, but like it's so hard to tell. It's like when, like 3 coordinates. It's like,
and with a Cartesian printer, it's like, oh, the left to righty bit is knackered, or that the front to backy bit is knackered, or the uppy downy bit, as opposed to the Delta where every single movement is some form of curve. It's like that's not normal physics.
I'll just type them all up and hope for the best. Yeah.
Where's the large hammer? It's the Delta.
Yeah, but I've been very lucky with this one. It's just kind of worked for me. I haven't done too much to it at all. I've been very, very lucky. I mean, I flashed the firmware a couple of times, but not much else. I can't think of much else that I've done.
We do need to have a natter at some point outside of the thing, so I can get you onto the silent drivers.
Yes, I do need that. Yes, I do think I bought a bunch of the drivers and I just never installed them.
We'll have a chat and we'll get them going.
That would be wonderful.
I was bricking it as well. I'd had them for months and hadn't done anything. And again, a little hobby shop, Duncan from the chat has just hounded me until I did it, and then I went, I should have done that months ago.
I'll be the same. I'll be like, damn it, I should have done that years ago. I think I have them. I think I bought them and I just haven't put them. Yeah, so that would be wonderful, Jamie, if you could, because every time I have to do anything that is even vaguely electronics, I freeze up and get scared. I'm getting a little better because I have to do electronics at work, but I would love help.
We shall definitely do that.
Thank you.
I was going to say, what are you going to follow Allie down the line of doing kind of online
full rebuild
videos?
From scratch?
You get the Spark Fun kit out and
maybe. I mean, that would be kind of cool. Though I'm at work. I don't know how much I can. I work in a makerspace. We'll say that, and I help run the induction program. So like the introductory kind of things for each of our equipment, and electronics is the one that I suck at. And we recently had to redesign because we couldn't get any parts for our existing workshop, and we didn't really like it. So I basically had to design the whole workshop from scratch and deliver it, which actually went pretty well. So I was pretty happy with that. But it is, I always tell them, I'm sorry, I'm really good at the 3D printers and the laser cutters and the sewing machines, but I suck at the electronics. So but thankfully with electronics, usually there's a bunch of people in the audience who know it already and they just want to come in and use the soldering iron. So they kind of help me through. And I'm like, please just chime in if I'm doing anything wrong. And they do. Yeah, they're good. I lean on them pretty hard. But yeah, I do need to get better at it all. So yes, that'd be lovely.
Electronics can be hard. I mean, people do degrees in it and still not know everything.
Yeah,
because it's just there is so much to it, but it is accessible as well. I mean, I think it's
unless you're reading an Arduino guide. Where it's step one, connect the LED, make it flash. Step 2, connect the LED and the switch, press the button, make it flash. Step 3, launch the space shuttle, open the bay doors.
Draw the rest of the fucking owl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly that.
That's it. I get up to the blinking and the hitting the button thing, and that's that. And I'm like, but now how do I do X? And I'm lost again. Like, it's just like, oh, I think I've never hyper focused on it. I think I've never really just fallen down the rabbit hole. And I think once I do, once something sparks, and I fall in love with it. Yeah, I'll have the tenacity to get through all the hurdles. But yeah, it's just.
I'm sure you will. There's plenty of people out there to help.
Yeah.
Because again, you get these communities, don't you? And I've talked about this before as well, about kind of wanting to almost like map some of the different. We talk about the maker community, but the maker community isn't just this one bubble. Although you could draw a whole bubble around it. There's get these little sort of clans, and some of them overlap. So you get your 3D printer people, and you get your 3D printer people who like to make art things, like you talk about. Yeah, you're interested in making the thing. Whereas you get somebody like, say, Kieran in the chat earlier said, I sometimes forget about the thing because I really like tinkering.
Yeah.
So you've got essentially, so 3D printer is made up of these two different communities, which possibly overlap. Because you get people. My brother-in-law.
And then there's Allie.
And then there's Allie, yeah. My brother-in-law built himself a 3D printer. He's an engineer. That's his job. He's a very good engineer. He's a natural engineer. He's not on social media. He wouldn't dream of being on social media. But he built a 3D printer. The printing space was, if you think about a standard kind of 300 by 300 sort of bed, he used 6 of those to create a bed. So this 3D printer is kind of this wide. It is. It's kind of absolutely massive dual extruder, and he built it. Not because he wants to actually use it for any particular thing. He likes building things like that.
Didn't he build it in the room and then realise he couldn't
get it
out of the room?
Classic.
I've got a photograph of it where he's got there's a double bed stood up behind it, a wooden frame double bed stood up to create the space for this thing to actually be in there, and it's almost as big. It's not quite as tall. It's standing wise, it would come up to kind of about sort of top of my chest.
That's crazy.
And Andy's only small. That's not that high.
Yeah, I'm only 5'7". But he likes making stuff like that. Yeah, he's made CNCs. Yeah, 8x4 foot CNCs. He's built things like that because he likes building them, and he'll build it and then go, well, sell it to somebody now.
Yeah.
It's I've Miranda, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the weird, crazy thing?
So you get these kind of sort of different bubbles of the maker community, and electronics is one, and so there'll be people who are kind of who are in both. They like 3D printing enclosures to go with their electronic bits.
Yeah.
And you kind of get that overlap, but they really know electronics. They know electronics. I mean, I like electronics. I've studied some electronics. I've done some at university. I've done a study in girls in electronics. I've hobbied with electronics, but I'm not an expert by any means compared to some people that I have known. I can make things work. But it's but you talk like with guides. A couple of years ago, bought a starter pack, an Arduino starter pack. Jamie knows the one because he got the same thing from Amazon. It was on a lightning deal. And with my youngest, we'll work through it. We'll do this together. We'll work through it. And so my youngest could have it because it was part of our homeschooling. Learn some electronics. Learn about how to build some things and how to do a bit of Arduino programming. And it was very much right. Today we're going to do the first lesson. So the first lesson, blink. And you're just making the built-in LED blink, a little bit of code, nice and easy. And the next time you're actually using a separate LED with a few wires and make that a little breadboard, and that works fine. And then the first 3 or 4 are okay, and then you get to the next stage along. The code in the book, the guidebook, doesn't match the code on the sample file that's been given, and you're like. But there's been no actual instruction on how to build up the code. It's just like, take the file.
That's where I get dug.
And it's like, First few were okay. We kind of, but got to a few, and it's like, okay, I haven't done any decent programming since I was at school. I've done a little bit of Arduino. I can't get this to. I do have no idea how this instruction book, this bit of code that I had downloaded from the company's website, don't go together. And it's like you then kind of right. We'll Google it. We'll find out. This bit of code from a different website will do the same job.
Yeah,
it works, but
I think that's like nail on the head of where I get stuck in electronics, is because a lot of the information out there and the guides out there is very how to do the thing, but not what you're doing or why you're doing it in that way. How to understand what is working in the background, why it works in this way, and why you would do it in this way. And so, like, even though you can reproduce the results, you're not actually learning anything that would be useful for you to go and take it and do your own thing with it. Like, absolutely, and I don't know, I just haven't found the place where I learn the why and the what. It's all how so far. Like, and I guess, I do need to fall down the rabbit hole, and I'm sure there's resources out there that explain it well, but like, even a lot of the Adafruit and stuff, like, it's like, do this thing, get this result, do this thing, get this result, and doesn't necessarily teach you the kind of building blocks stuff that you would need to be able to start building your own thing. And I don't know, I guess a lot of people just copy people's projects for a while, but I have no patience for doing things that have already been done. Like, I just cannot muster enthusiasm for reproducing someone else's creativity.
Well,
I think
that's the thing, though, isn't it? With things like Adafruit and Pimeroni and all of these other things that are fantastic outlets for places to buy the things to do these projects. But then so many of us have got all of these things there ready to do those projects, to do those, follow through the tutorial, buy the Adafruit kit and then do the Adafruit tutorial and then get to the end of it and go, well, I've done the Adafruit tutorial, I'll put the things back in the box now.
Yeah.
We've all got those things. I mean, in the stack of shelves here, there's a few Raspberry Pis that have been sat there gathering dust for quite a while, and lots of projects in potentia that have been that for quite a while.
Yeah,
which I think brings us back to how much of that is kind of actually sort of maker ADD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've again, this has been a topic, a recurring theme in the Waffle about kind of ADD. We've talked to a number of people.
Well, I mean, ADHD seems to be it's our outlet, isn't it? We've
but
called
maybe
it
it's also
podcast.
A superpower.
Yeah. It's a Waffle masquerading as a podcast, but it's actually us just interviewing other people like us to say, have we got ADHD?
But I'd like to see.
I mean, talking about that, you should probably
Venn diagram. Yeah.
Yeah, that Venn diagram is basically just one circle.
Take that Venn diagram of makers and identify, where are the people with the ADD, and are there people in kind of the makers who aren't ADD?
ADHD,
maybe ADHD, ADHD. Essentially, it's this. I believe nowadays it's the same thing. And I think some people don't do the H anymore, and some people do.
No, it's the other way. They got rid of the.
They put them all in one, and now there's subsets. There's like a more internal one and a more external one, and I'm the internal one, which is
and a bit of both overlap
for a long time.
Okay.
Anyway,
don't need to do more research. But are there? So, for example, I don't know the answer to this question. Obviously, as makers, us three, we're makers who also like to share and do that through YouTube or Instagram or Twitter or Reddit or in other groups. There are an awful lot of makers who don't. They don't do social media. They don't. They may maybe go to their local wood turning club, and they may kind of have others. I know somebody in the same town who builds these things. We maybe go to once a year. We go to like the Doctor Who con, and we show off our Daleks.
Yeah,
but maybe don't have don't do the Instagram.
Example.
Yeah, but is there kind of maybe a relation? Yeah, the people who are more likely to be on social media and make are more likely to be ADHD than those who don't. It's just a hypothesis.
It's a good question. I know Zack Friedman quite well. And I met him before he started his YouTube channel, which is booming. And if you haven't heard of Zack Freeman, go check him out. He is
That's some amazing stuff.
Buckets of fun. And I'm sure he will be on the front page of YouTube within a year. Like he is just booming.
He's the reason why I've got my little wraparound screen thing because of Zack.
Yeah. Well, like I met him before he was very active on. Like, I met him through the Cyberdeck Discord, which is this niche little amazing Discord. If you at all love retro tech or tiny little computers or anything, just sci-fi, really fun place, Cyberdeck Discord.
It's a great Discord. I keep it muted, though, because it's
it moves
very,
quick.
very, very busy. I couldn't even... Can't keep up on that one.
That's an interesting one from a community management perspective, too. But anyway, I'm going on tangent. I don't know whether Zack has ADHD. But he definitely talks about people having ADHD a lot. And I'm not sure whether he does or he doesn't. But he will like make jokes as though he does, like, or at least that he heavily sympathizes with what having ADHD is like. And but he was not on social media for years. Like he has been in the maker community for years and going to like Maker Faire New York and showing off amazing things for like decades kind of length of time. And only just recently, really, started the social media thing in alignment with his YouTube channel because that's the direction he wanted to head. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out. It's an interesting question, and I now I'm wondering if Zack has ADHD because it would be interesting because he went for years without it, and I know that that socials is like a conscious thing for him, like he decides to do it, kind of thing. Whereas. Yeah, it was a pretty natural thing for me. I really like attention, or I did at the time. I think I'm changing. I don't know that I do as much anymore, but I definitely did. Definitely have been for a long time.
There's different types. We do change.
Yeah,
as people, we do change in a variety of different ways. But there are also different types of attention, and certainly we'll probably discuss more in 2 weeks' time when we have the group chat. You have been the subject of perhaps attention that isn't so nice. And as we all know, Reddit, for example, is not the only place. It can be
Reddit
the most amazing corners of the internet where you can find out so much amazing stuff. But they're also cesspits.
Yeah.
And there are some extremely horrible people.
I mean,
it's scary.
Sort of off the back of that, though. I mean, like the three of us have had incidents recently with things on Discord and stuff where I know, like Andy and I have been sort of at the edge of our sort of depth or experience of how we would approach to deal with things like that. But obviously, it's these kind of things of moderating the 3D printing subreddit and things like that have obviously given you a huge wealth of experience in dealing with people or challenging situations or things like that are like skills I would love to develop over time. But I know for me it's going to take a long time to develop. But it just seems to you seem to just present it as this just natural extension of you and your communication. Your ability to just deal with people in a way that it is completely alien to me. It's an active choice to like how do I phrase this, whereas you can just seem to straight into.
No, it's funny you say that because those skills are definitely hard earned. I definitely they don't come naturally to me. I have spent a lot of my time struggling to understand other people and why they do the things they do and in what way exactly am I fucking up, because no one seems to want to tell me in a nice way. Like they just want to turn their back on me kind of thing. And all my social skills are very hard earned, and I think I came into the moderating in Reddit at an interesting point in my life. I knew I wanted to always lead with empathy and be kind, and I knew that's the way I wanted it to be, partially because I knew it would be effective. Like people don't like dictators, and I don't want to be a dictator. I don't think like that wouldn't soothe my soul. Like I didn't want to help lead that community because I wanted to dictate it. The reason I accepted it was because I experienced more sexism on that subreddit than I ever had in my life anywhere. It taught me what sexism looks like in my culture, in the 21st century, my timeline and stuff. Yeah, and I think before that, I don't think I was a very good ally at all. I don't think I really experienced too much sexism. I think I lived in a really happy little bubble. I think I'd been very lucky to have worked in the places I'd worked and grown up in the places that I grew up and with the family that I had and stuff. Yeah, and Reddit taught, like that subreddit particularly taught me otherwise. And I'd been on Reddit a long time. And, you know, interestingly, you know, made adult content and stuff before I got into 3D printing. And even there, I didn't experience as much sexism as I did on Reddit. And I got into the modding because I didn't want other people to have that same experience. I'm like, why should my gender matter at all when I'm holding a 3D print and all you can see is my hand? I would be told that my things are only upvoted because it's clear that I'm a girl because of my fingernails holding my 3D print, or that I shouldn't show my face in my 3D prints when I'm showing a necklace that I've made and my face is buried three photos down in a
Gallery.
Oh, what do you call it?
Gallery.
Pardon? A gallery. Thank you.
Gallery.
That is the word. Yeah, like 3 photos into a gallery, which on Reddit, most people don't even look through the gallery because a lot of people don't even realize when it's a gallery. And I'm told that I'm seeking upvotes with my face. And then, you know, the guy who is 2 posts down showing off the glasses that he made is not being told the same thing. And I'm like, why does my gender matter at all? And I think I came into moderating Reddit out of the frustration of that and thinking that it was just so wrong and just shouldn't exist. Like, it just, what? Like, this is the 21st century. What even is this? And yeah, I wanted to kind of get rid of that, but I wanted to do it in a healthy sort of way. So it was always, I mean, I think the thing I said most was remember the human and be excellent to each other. And so I would tell people, this isn't appropriate here, you know, in future, don't do it. Remember the human and be excellent to each other. And I always wanted to give people that chance to be better. And then if they continued, just, well, you're not welcome here then. Like, this is not what we're about. This is a 3D printing subreddit, not a sexism subreddit. So go over and be sexist elsewhere. Yeah, or racist or homophobic or anything else.
Don't attribute to malice what might just be ignorance.
Yeah. And for a long time, I don't know. I think I've become dissuaded over the time, because for a long time, I thought it was just ignorance. I thought people were just sexist because they were ignorant and they just hadn't thought this through and all that sort of stuff. And then, I don't know. I feel like there's people who should know better. And also, it's kind of not my job to teach people to be better, which is why I've stepped back from a lot of moderating, because it takes a lot of emotional energy, like a lot of emotional energy to have those heavy conversations with someone and actually change their mind. And I did put that energy into a lot of people, and it was amazing when I was able to turn someone from being a detractor into a positive member of the community, you know. And it's very worthwhile when you can put that energy in. But I ended up realizing somewhere along the way, it's like Pandora's box. You open up the box of demons and there's that glimmer of hope that keeps you going. You know, the little white butterfly comes out and you're like, there's the hope that we can make this better, the hope that we can change it. And then somewhere along the way, I realized that you just end up living in a world of demons. Like, you just end up exposing yourself to all sorts of horrible stuff all the time. And why am I spending so much energy on people who wouldn't do the same for me or for anyone else, you know? And I think, and it's such a sad way to end the story, but like, that's why I haven't been on as much. I've been burnt out, and I don't want to give my energy to horrors anymore. I want to just spend it on me, I guess, so I become more selfish or something. But yeah,
but that's not being selfish.
No,
I think
self-preservation or something.
Yeah, it's like when you're on a plane and you're given the instructions on, you know, in the event of an emergency, the first thing you need to do is to put your oxygen mask on yourself before you put it onto your children, if you're with children.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget that whether it's in an internet-based system where you're moderating, or whether it's actually in a real physical place with other people, whether that's somebody working as in customer service, so direct to public contact, whether that's through a phone or whether that's face to face, literally, or whether it's working in a school or working in a care home. We forget sometimes that actually the people who are doing those interactions are human beings, and that sometimes for the person who's having to put the most work in, it's actually very sort of damaging. And if we don't put in place, or if those people don't put in place the measures to be able to recover, then we potentially will lose those people. Whether that's as a company, people go, I can't work here anymore, or whether it's in, I mean, the dropout rate in education in the UK for teachers is awful. Just, I mean, the retention rate through training is not great, but then the number of people who don't last more than 3 or 4 years, and there are reasons for that, and it's a complex set of reasons. But one of those reasons is that actually it's emotionally it's a very hard thing to do, and it's very difficult for people to recover if you're working very long hours. A large
chunk of it is social services as well, isn't it?
You're giving so much of yourself.
Yeah.
And so it is important. So, what are you going to do to help? How are you going to recover? Apart from staying away from the horrible people.
I'm just making for myself for now, I think, and just making a bit quieter. Like, I've made a few things, and I just haven't really posted them. Like, I made this dress a little while ago, and I made some skirts and stuff, and I've just been like, doing my own thing a bit, and I don't really know what the solution is. I'm actually, I'm talking to my psychologist about it all, and last time I saw him, I don't even know whether I want to say it out loud. I don't know. Last time I saw him, we basically came to the conclusion that I should just leave the maker community. Continue to make, but leave the community. Because it just wasn't a healthy place for me. And that's really sad. And I don't really know.
It also doesn't necessarily have to be permanent either. There's recovery time involved. But I
think it's just, like, I don't know. The more people that I end up exposed to, like, even though it's a very small percentage of the community that's horrible, and the majority of the community is amazing, the more people you expose yourself to, the quantity of those horrible people goes up. And
statistics, isn't it?
And my brain doesn't really care that it's so outweighed by the overwhelming good. It's you're still getting horrible people at an increasing rate. And so Lizard Brain says, you're doing something wrong. I think we're just literally not coped for having, like, we're literally not built to cope with social circles so large. Like, if you're in your tribal group of 20 people and one of them doesn't like you, that's fine. If one person doesn't like you in your whole world, that's fine. But, like, when it's so many all the time, I just don't think people are built. It made me understand why so many big YouTubers are narcissists, because you literally can't cope with the stress of getting that much negative feedback. If you have a healthy relationship with other people, I don't know, like, if you're not a narcissist, like, and I don't know. I'm not saying that everyone who's big is a narcissist. Maybe just lots of people manage it a whole lot better than I can. But I don't think it's a healthy place for me, like, being online. I think it's big. I think I'm just sort of realizing that how unhealthy it is for me.
Well, brains do those funny things, don't they? It's that kind of, you make something and not even necessarily sharing it online, which of course opens up, but you kind of show it to a bunch of people, and you get people going, oh wow, that's amazing, oh I've never seen anything like that, that's brilliant, oh fantastic, how did you learn to do that, you must be so talented. You get all these comments, then somebody goes, was that it? And it's not really negative. It's not really negative.
That's not going to work, and that's blah,
but even just you should.
Even just say it's a neutral comment. It's not even necessarily a negative comment. It's just a neutral comment, and you suddenly go, oh, is it that rubbish? Is that really that rubbish? It's like,
it's right in that
forget. My brain remembers. It's
right in that dopamine curve. If you've got You know, the kind of expectation of like, I made this and this made me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I've made something, it's made me feel good. I've shown it to someone else, it's made them feel good as well. So let's you know, put the next one on the chain, and then like you say, when you get that one that just, yeah, but you could have done better, or yeah, but you could have done this differently, or you could have done it how I liked it, not how you liked it.
Yep. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody once told me a sort of strategy, because you get the same sort of thing in teaching, where you kind of, you know, you don't remember the kid that, every for me, one of the great things when I was sort of teaching was, you know, you get that time when some child who'd been struggling with something goes, "I got it," or somebody was really enthused about suddenly learning something, or they've been struggling for an entire lesson to get their basic circuit to work, and then they, to the end of the lesson, they don't necessarily get the full experiment done, but they get the circuit working, and they go, "Oh, look,
and you can see excitement and their joy.
And you can see that excitement, and that certainly for me helped bolster all those times when you're dealing with those people. Because one of the problems with school, as opposed to maybe adult learning, is that you get a lot of people who don't really want to be there.
Yeah.
Physics was a compulsory part of the curriculum, not an optional part.
And
sometimes even with the optional course, certain
their parents
ages
them
they
into
take
doing
options.
it so they can be an engineer and be rich. Yeah.
or parents have pushed them into it, or they've picked a subject that they're least worst in.
Yes.
Not necessarily picking something they're most interested in, but it's like, or they pick it because, oh yeah, I like that teacher, or my mate's doing that, I'll pick that as well.
Yeah.
And that's a good skive.
Not good reasons to take something, particularly if it's a lot of sort of hard work. And so you get this kind of, you are dealing with sort of negative things, and some people sort of say, look, one of the things to do is, when you get that little Christmas card from some parent or kid at the end of the year, say, "You're my favourite teacher," put it into a folder. And when you get that email from a parent going, "I'm really thankful for the work that you've been doing with my son or daughter, and really pleased with the progress they've been making," which are rare emails to get, again, slot it into a folder. And then when you kind of you build up this folder of, literally a physical folder, this recommendation was, of your positivity. So when you've had one of those sort of weeks where all the classes have been badly behaved, and there's been 3 fire alarms in one day, and something broke, and there was a fight, and just all those sort of things, you can kind of go, right, I'm going to grab that folder off there and actually remember that actually there's some really positive stuff coming out. I think sometimes
is that a path to narcissism though? If you start to get really, really good at your craft,
if you only
and you end up with this really, really big file of all these good things.
That's one of my genuine worries too, Jamie, is that the more I would see the more that I would experience crappy stuff, the more defensive I would become, and the quicker I would become defensive. And one of my continual worries is that I won't take legitimate feedback or know what it looks like anymore when I see it, because
it becomes more difficult to keep trusted relationships in, doesn't it, as well?
Because I'm just so quick to be like, nope, fuck you, and one of my legitimate worries is that I won't accept legitimate feedback anymore.
I mean, I suppose Naomi Wu's a perfect example of that, with her sort of approach to social media, particularly at the minute. I'll say the last couple of years, I suppose, of kind of going through, fighting those battles and having those conversations with detractors or the you shoulds, or it's her phrase, isn't it, of everything has merit until merit has tits. And it's that kind of thing of like the amount of times that she'd done an amazing project, and then one moron said, "Oh yeah, but if you'd have done this," and she'd have had the conversation with them and explained to them, "No, I'm actually, I know what I'm talking about," or "No, I'd actually considered that, but I followed that path down and realized that while you think it's a good idea now, if I'd have pursued that, it would have actually been wrong," and kind of going down all those things. And then now she's just like, "Nah, get lost," and it is that sort of path to maybe you encourage more of it by being more provocative, but then at the same time you might encourage more of it by being more engaging. Or I suppose it's there's always a fear whichever option you might potentially go down.
And I don't see a good solution to it, and I think that's where I'm stuck.
No,
I just don't see a good solution to it. I feel it, but I don't see.
I can well imagine.
But yeah, very much. Like Naomi says, blocking is a self-preservation tactic, and I fully agree with that. Now it's just like, because if you just spend emotional energy trying to change their mind or whatever else, you always lose. You're just losing that emotional energy that you could spend elsewhere. And I want to spend it on my partner and on my making and on the beautiful people in my life. And I don't want to spend it on the demons anymore. I mean, I don't. It's too much to try and change them all.
And I did exactly the same thing. Like, especially things like the start of the pandemic, and you go into these battles of trying to, like you did with Dad, trying to educate or trying to adjust viewpoints or provide information or facts or background or things like that, and you come out the other end of it battered and broken and exhausted, and it's like, well, I might have changed their view slightly, but what it's also done is completely changed my view of them. And it's not. It might have slightly improved their situation, but it's negatively impacted mine. Full stop. And I made a similar sort of thing of like sort of pulling back from social media a little bit, or people who were in my life who were fortunately weren't immediate family relatives, but people that I was able to just go, no, that's it, done with you now. There's too much energy been wasted there that I need to do that self-preservation. I need to do that self-care to make sure that I'm all right for the people who will listen, who will actually ask the question rather than the old adage of, I forget which law of the internet it is, but the quickest way to find the right answer to something is to give the wrong one as a fact. That sort of thing of once you
don't
ask for help. Don't ask for the answer.
No, exactly.
Just give it the wrong answer.
One. Wait to correct you. Yeah.
I've walked away from people in real life. I don't just mean that you get that occasion where you bump into somebody you maybe don't know where you are and you just kind of go, I'm not talking to you. I mean, literally kind of cut people out of my life because I'm not interested in them taking me down. I can't. I'm over 50. I can't change people. I can't change people that are older than me. I might be able to help with somebody who's younger, but again, that emotional toll that takes to do that. Sometimes it is. I think it's certainly strategy I've used where I've literally gone, sometimes, I don't want to know anything about you anymore. I don't want to be dealing with you. You are not in any way positive in my life anymore. You're going, even there's the kind of, you're not being positive in my life. We're not interacting, so I'm going to remove you as well. It's not that you've done anything particularly wrong. It's just that you're essentially an emotional weight. And it's hard to do. It is hard to do sometimes. You kind of go, should I have done that? Should I have tried to change their mind about it? Whatever. I think I've got to the stage now, my age, I'm getting older. I don't know how long I've got. I'm probably on the downhill. It's fact of life. I'm over 50. Most people are dead before they're 100. I'm over halfway.
Statistically speaking, you're over the hump.
I'm over the hump. So it's like I don't need that in my life. I want positive people like you two in my life, not negative people. And so I'll make time for that. And I think with making it becomes, there's that burden. I mean, I haven't put out a Tales from the Tinkerage video for months. I've got one in edit, which I must get on to do.
I'm still waiting for the next Physics Mad one.
Well, that's several years now. when you make
should
something.
Say, Billy, just as an aside, there is a video of Andy laying on a bed of nails on his Physics
Very
Mad
fun.
channel.
Ooh, that's fun. Love a good bed of nails.
I think it's also on my personal channel as well. I've got so many channels. I've got a ridiculous number of YouTube channels. Yeah, I think I'm responsible for a significant number of people getting their monetization. 100 channels. Yeah, I haven't quite got that many. YouTube, if you're listening, I haven't quite got that many. I don't do that.
It's the one button we rig up that just spiders out to just preload all the tabs for all the different accounts. So.
Oh, that's a good button. Do you really have that button?
Yeah,
that's a good button.
No, we should do.
Oh, okay. I was like, that sounds very handy. I would like that button.
It would be. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah,
we'll have a word with Kiel tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I do set my web page, like my web browser, to open up to a set of tabs every time to remind me to do all the things I need to do in my life. That's handy.
It's a working function.
Yeah, me too. Sorry.
All the information.
When we make stuff, I think this is something I know a lot of people who've started YouTube channels, and a lot of people that are in the kind of early stage to their YouTube channels, and a lot of them, and people actually who've got big channels, and actually sort of that act of making and recording, whether it's YouTube or whether it's actually just simply Instagram, that extra burden of, well, if I'm going to make it, I've got several projects out at the Tinkerreach that I want to do and I want to record, but because I want to record them, I haven't done them.
Yeah.
I've got a few things. It's like, well, it's a 10-minute repair job. I want to record it.
Yeah.
And so I've got to be in the.
I'm going with.
Yeah, I've got the right amount of. I need some quiet. I mean, my next door neighbour not to be making more sort of garden furniture or whatever he's doing. He's constantly making things for his garden. So impact driver going, mitre saw going, or whatever. The weather's got to be good enough if I've got to be outside to fix it because I've only got a small workshop. And then you've got to have enough uninterrupted time to get cameras set up and everything else set up, and you've got to think about the angle. And so your 10-minute job isn't a 10-minute job anymore. It's now an hour.
Yeah.
But it needs to be the right hour.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes the joy away from many people.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely found video editing joy sucking, or video making, the whole thing. I just
Could you switch to the live streams for a chunk as well, didn't you? As a kind of almost a way of combating that, I suppose.
Yeah, because I quite enjoy the live thing. I think because you can just sit down and do it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I mean, a video does not do perfect either, and none of mine were. But like, I just have this whole. It's a lot more emotional burden to try and to make it nice and snippy and. Like, because a lot of my videos are like how to do something, and that takes a bit of thinking to construct that and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, live streams ended up being more fun.
Well, something that's I suppose linked into that a little bit, but it is the you mentioned having props with you, and of course you have a very large prop on display behind you anyway. It's your organization.
Oh yes.
Stuff.
Yes.
Which was
it's a little less organized than my old one. I'm waiting for a cabinet underneath. But anyway, yes, it's still relatively organized.
But it was another one of your sort of mammoth projects that then has given so much creative energy to a lot of people who were stifled by their own environments. Even just from seeing the conversations in Discord and stuff where you've gone, oh yeah, I kind of did a whole thing about that. Here's the link. And then like just seeing the feedback of these people who are friends in the Discord, we're just going, oh my god, Billy, that's amazing. Now I've got an idea of what I can do to help like organize my chaos. Or I mean, yes, I fully agree. I need to do something.
Pretty good. You got little storage things. There's not too much on the floor. I think you're doing pretty well.
A lot of it's hidden. And my wife would definitely
that is one
disagree.
thing. This side is just as tidy as that side. In fact, maybe even a little more so. So that is the thing. Yeah. That is a hard-earned skill as well. a really
very
hard-earned
much
skill.
in your level of everything in clear boxes. You can see things, everything nested or self-contained or things like that, and it is utterly logical when you think about it. And it's one of those things that I think every one of us who's read through your guide of how to, it's essentially how to think like an ADHD brain to organize everything so it's sensible and logical and you can use the space and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think every one of us who's read through it has gone, oh shit, that's just so sensible. Why didn't we think of that?
And I really am like that. And like, yeah, oh, of course. Yeah. Well, all that stuff is like years and years of me trying to work it out, like just
and distilling it all down into something.
Yeah. And trying loads and loads of things and failing a lot. Because I used to live like a hoarder, but like not even an exaggeration. I would wade through my belongings like an actual hoarder. There's various reasons why I was like that.
I'm not saying anything at this point.
I'm staying quiet as well. Yeah.
But like I would and literally wade through my belongings, and I have one photo on there from when I was partway through this journey. I was actually better than I had been, but even that photo is like hoarder levels. But yeah, I'd already begun the journey and I'd already picked up a few things along the way in that photo. So it definitely wasn't the worst it ever got. I just never took pictures because I was so ashamed. Yeah, it's amazing I ever got laid. But yeah. Yeah. So I it's been so nice to hear from people who've tried some of that stuff and have had it working for them. And like the way Allie talks about it, I really think that it's changed their world quite a bit. The way they talk about it is just like,
I mean, I think there is a huge amount of mutual respect and admiration that
we adore each other. Yeah. But it's just so nice to be able to I cling on to that sort of stuff. It's really, really just so lovely to hear, and I'm so happy that it's helped. What changed? Is that Reese?
Reese, that's what's changed.
Right. What changed as in how I became not a hoarder? If that's the question. I have a whole blog post.
That's what I'm reading that as.
Yeah. I have a whole blog post on my website. It's one of the more recent ones. Maybe don't open the website at work because there is an adult toy. It's one of the most recent blog posts. But I think it's just below that one. But yeah, there's a whole blog post about that sort of thing.
We will link. I'll link directly to that post.
Thank you. So that'd be lovely.
Anyone, a couple of days' time, if you want to link to that one in work rather than just going to Billie's blog and scrolling down.
Because I think it's a thing a lot of maker folk struggle with, particularly our kind of makers that do so many different things. Because it's kind of hard to organize it when you have so many different hobbies, and they all kind of somehow interrelate a little bit. But while we're talking about chat stuff, I just want to say thank you, Joe. It's so lovely to see you in the chat from Project Red. Thank you, Joe, and thank you for all your continual support over the many, many years. Like Project Red, Joe, you're a legend, and I don't even have the words. So, I mean, that's the one. Thank you.
Literal legend. As we're looking at I've got your Discord up on the top as well, and I can see Joe there as legend.
Yes,
so literally confirmed in print.
Not only like in Patreon support, but just like emotional support and kindness, and like just genuine kindness over the years, and not only to me and to so many people, and so quietly he's just quietly supports so many people in so many ways. And you're a legend, Joe. I hope you're still listening.
If I remember correctly, you had a chat with him on your podcast.
We did, so go check that one out. It's great.
I'll link that.
Very clever human.
Eric's arrived as well.
Oh, Eric, hello Eric.
Eric,
good morning.
Eric,
good evening.
hopefully going to be a future guest. We haven't asked him yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's on our wish list.
Eric is amazing. Oh my god.
But Eric
brain.
has been joining in and enduring our waffles previously anyway.
Oh, he'd be perfect. Eric is amazing. Yeah.
Definitely.
He'll have loads to chat about. You can chat about anything with Eric, and he will have awesome stories of things he's done in the past.
This is something that And I've discussed when we've been discussing, like who we'd like in the future and stuff like that. We've got a couple of people who are a very similar ilk. That you can throw a random topic into the mix, and they will just take that and speak.
Which totally suits how we're doing Maker's Waffle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a meandering waffle around everything.
Yeah, we don't generally go down the topic line. Although we're going to do that with a group chat in a couple of weeks' time. That's our kind of first time where we're actually going to have a topic as such.
Try and be sensible and try and stick to the topic.
I think we're going to aim for something similar every 10 episodes now. We've got one set up for number 30 where we're going to look at art, design, craft, the difference.
That's a topic I love. I will look forward to that one. That's one I really find quite fascinating and I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Could talk about that for a while.
We'll come back to that. I think that will be our episode before Christmas.
It will be, yeah.
Yeah, it's our last one before Christmas.
Very cool. That'll be awesome. I will look out for that because that's a particularly interesting topic to me because it's so subjective. It's one that you can debate out for a long time. And
this is exactly it. We've got. I mean, are we gonna spoil it for Billie here? And say who we've got on because
you can keep it. I don't mind.
Maybe this is for the after show. We'll just sort of like the little nugget of tease the audience.
Well, we've got a variety of people booked in for that one, haven't we? We've got
we have a wide gamut of a spectrum as always. a spectrum of makers, I think, is probably a perfect phrase.
Yeah, spectrum. Spectrum.
Oh, collective now for makers. What would it be? Yeah. I mean, spectrum's a good one. I like that. But would that be the best collective now for makers?
A menagerie. Menagerie of makers.
I love the alliteration.
Spectrum is still linear, and I feel like we're at least 3 dimensions in the maker. Probably more.
Yeah,
Andy's been using his physics brain to try and Venn diagram us all.
Work it all out. You can't do it on a standard
3 dimensions isn't enough.
Definitely like a networky kind of vibe. Like it's like neural or something.
Yeah, like a neural net, isn't it?
A neural net.
I think to be honest, it probably is. I think it is a form of neural net.
I genuinely do think so. Like one of the beautiful things that I love about the maker community is watching an idea start here and spread through different makers, changing slightly as it goes. And isn't the internet amazing? And aren't we so lucky to be able to think interpersonally, between other humans? Like, because we are acting like the maker community as a whole is acting like a big brain. It goes through bits where it's really into one thing and then that fades out. But like thoughts jump between people and evolve as they go, but thoughts do that in our actual brain. And I could talk about this for a while and how creativity happens and how that physically, ideas bump together and then you get these sparks of awesome. But that's really what's happening inside the community too. These thoughts bump together and I could actually use that over here in my biology research. I really want to get a ceramic printer because I really want to make a filter for my fish tank. Because I was reading a paper when I was in uni about how gyroid infill structures increase cell proliferation when they're placed as bone scaffold structures inside the body. So like they use them for like a bones, they implant a bit of 3D printed material and they were trying different infill methods and the best was gyroid because the liquids can flow through it really easily, but it has those like twists and turns in it for cells to be deposited and stick there and start proliferating. And so cell proliferation and thus bone growth and everything else is higher in gyroid infill. And I thought, wouldn't that be cool to have as a fish tank filter? Because that's what you need in a fish tank filter is you need lots of places for all the microbes to stick, but you also need high water flow through so that you can have the microbes doing their job and turning the chemicals into safer chemicals basically. And I was like telling some of my friends about that. I'm like, I want a ceramic printer so I can print in gyroid so I can make a fish tank filter. ADHD things. And this is why. And then someone else is like, I have a friend who works in coral research and like helping coral propagate on reefs. And maybe they could use that. And if they could, and so like these ideas just bounce Like you put an idea out there and it bounces into other people, and then other people turn them in, and it's just so cool. I think
that's a neural network. Yeah.
I really think
the transferal of skills.
A brain of makers. I think that's what we are. Like it's a.
But I want to go back slightly.
Yeah.
Ceramic printers.
Oh, dude, they've actually been around a long time. Yeah, they're not.
If only we had Eric in the chat.
And I think Eric's probably. I know Eric's worked on wax ones. He's probably done ceramic ones. It's a paste extruder, and you can put all kinds of things in a paste extruder.
So you paste extrude and then bake.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and
a bain-marie or
there's actually a analog 3D printer that was one of the top posts on the 3D printing subreddit for a long time. I think the subreddit's grown since, but for a long time there was an analog 3D printer, and it was a ceramic printer, and it was all clockwork driven. It was amazing. No electricity at all. I know, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, look, Eric, there we go. There's a whole bunch of ceramic printers on the market. Yeah, there's the paste extruder type. There's also some that they have it in a resin bind. Yeah, okay, he's about to. Yeah, there you go. There's a resin bound one, and then you burn most of the polymers. You burn the polymers away in the kiln, and you're just left with the ceramic.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate you as always.
Thank you, Eric.
So, I guess in a similar way to kind of polymer metal clays.
Yes.
Which is I used to do silver jewelry. Haven't done it for a while, so that's what I'm saying used to. And one of the kind of options there, certainly something my sister has played out with some of her work, was with sort of polymer metal clays, where you kind of literally you take a shape, you bake it, polymer gets driven off, and you're left with essentially pure silver.
Yeah. I think that is highly underutilized in the maker community too, because like you could 3D print a mold, push that clay, the silver clay, into the mold, stick it on your stovetop, and have a fully silver part. Like, and I don't think many people realize that metal clays are a thing. Like the polymer clays polymer clays are a thing. I think it's highly underutilized because it's really cool and something I've wanted to try for a long time, but the clay is a bit expensive. A lot of them are precious metals and quite expensive.
I think you said about ceramic filled filaments that you then sinter, so you print it in a regular FDM printer. Ooh.
Yeah.
Andy's comes.
and just I'm not a chemist, but obviously I'm a physicist and I know chemists. I've worked with chemists, and I'm sort of thinking, like you're talking about filters and thinking about. Well, actually, you can have ceramic water filters.
Yeah.
So and so you could actually potentially. I'm just sort of thinking, it's like almost the history of 3D printing. But my earliest knowledge of 3D printers was learning about kind of essentially United States military vehicles that would be taken into a battlefield area. We've got obviously tanks and other vehicles we can't have necessarily all the spare parts, things like gaskets for all the different vehicles, but we can have a 3D printer that can actually produce the parts from essentially a catalogue, and that was kind of my first introduction to sort of 3D printers and what they might be and how they might work. And I'm sort of thinking, well, actually you could take maybe access to good water and clean water in Africa, for example, is a huge problem.
Yes.
But filters are bulky and difficult to transport, but perhaps filament and an oven and a 3D printer might then be able to produce filters that could sort of go on.
And not even filament. If you're using a paste extruder, you just need clay, and clay is relatively easy to find. You just need some safe-ish clay. Yeah. And then you're building it. You don't even have to ship stuff there.
Eric says though that you're looking at 1500 degrees Celsius sintering temperatures.
Yeah, and I mean that's ceramics in general. Well, ceramics are 1200 often. Yeah, but you can build that in a big fire if you. I mean, it does. We've been doing that for a while as humans, but I mean, it might be different. Ceramic that's finely printed on a printer and stuff. It might take a bit of finagling, but yeah.
I don't know whether you'd want just a bog standard blast furnace, maybe.
Yeah.
Something slightly more gentle for delicate lattices.
Yeah. one of those the mud kilns though. They tend to do quite well generally. I think you like build the fire and you build the mud around it so it can slow down. It can. I think it's the cooling down slowly thing that's a lot of the hard part about the ceramics. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't splash water on it.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Kaboom. Oh, the things you learn. Yeah, I hadn't thought. It kind of it all makes sense. It fits in with other things I know, but I'd not really thought of ceramic 3D printers.
It's that transfer of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the paste extruders, you can put all kinds of things in them. Like this guy, Charles Meyer, and he was printing like this kind of protein thing from shellfish. It's like a waste product from shellfish that they refine down. It's not casein. It's something like that. And it has all these interesting properties. And he was printing that with a ceramic printer. People print cells with not ceramic printers, with paste extruders. People print cells with them, like biological cells. People print paper. I've seen paper pulp. That was really cool. Like you'd take paper and like pulp it down and then make lights and stuff out of it. That was really neat. All kinds of things in a pulp extruder. They're really cool. A paste extruder. I keep saying it wrong. But yeah, there's all kinds of fun things. I'm really
there's such simple looking things as well. It's just a robot controlled syringe essentially, isn't
it? Yeah. I think there's a bit of maths in the flow, because I think as I'd imagine there's a lot of changes, the flow is a little different, something like that. There's some, but
viscosities and things.
For it.
I would imagine the viscosity of the fluid or the paste you're trying to put out, which potentially could change. With certain materials, the viscosity will change when you force them through a small orifice.
Yeah.
Others won't.
And that's one of the hard things about the cells, is that there's quite a lot of pressure in the nozzle bit, and they want to be able to be quite fine details, but they're exposed to so many stresses that the cells just burst. And then they're not really like living at the other end.
It's slightly delicate things.
Yeah, it's there's really just papers about the shapes of the nozzles and stuff and all the stuff in between. It's very interesting. Yeah.
to sort of embrace my inner Steve is the quote I'm going to use, which is it's just mostly for Andy's benefit there. But that would definitely be something that would grab my attention.
Ba-dump.
That was me for the benefit of our audience who know the in joke that is our sort of cue to help try and give you a fighting chance of actually getting to work today and things like that.
Yeah, so for the benefit of those listening later in the week, this is our kind of what's been grabbing our attention section, which can be anything from work you've been doing, work you're going to be doing, that you're thinking about, or things you've seen, books you've read, people that have caught your attention, and whatever. It's not. We don't limit ourselves as some other podcasts do, or focus. We don't focus, perhaps, as some podcasts do, on one particular thing, a video of the week or whatever. So it can be anything and everything and multiple things.
Is there anything you would like to bring some eyes and ears to?
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty good. Just if you want to hang out with other cool makers, head to my Discord. We have a lot of fun there. And check out my blog if you want to see some of my work, or my website. There's a bit of info there, and my YouTube channel if you want to hear me waffle. But mostly I try to let other people talk more, because I have a little podcast kind of like this. So if you like this format of long discussions with makers, I have a series there. It's not ongoing as much anymore. There's a couple I have to get up because they're recorded and not edited. But there's a good backlog of really, really cool humans that I've spoken with, and had the pleasure to spend some time with. So if you're into this kind of thing, you might enjoy that too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there any particular makers you'd like to shout out at all?
Oh, Allie, of course, and Hannah, if you haven't seen those two. Yeah, amazing. Zack Friedman. Oh, there's so many. How could I even? There's so many. It's
that
like,
was mean. That really was
mean. I could be here all day. So many cool people.
It is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, basically just join Billy's Discord, pick one from the list.
Hang out with cool people, chat away. I've noticed a few people in the chat. From there, so it's lovely to see them. Like Beardy, hello, lovely to see you here, fellow Aussie. But yeah,
become a bit of a regular in the in our waffles.
Oh, good. Yeah, I feel like we should just all share friends, because we're all cool humans. Yeah. Nothing in particular. Too many cool people. Yeah.
Have you got anything coming up that you might be able to share with us?
I'm thinking I might do some more Fusion 360 workshops. I ran some of those for Make.
Awesome.
And like I said, I took a pretty significant pay cut to be at my current job. And I want to save for a house. And so I'm thinking I might run a few of those workshops in the not too distant future. Probably one before Christmas, doing Christmas ornaments. But it's really just a basic introduction to Fusion 360.
We're just using
for. No, absolutely none. It's meant for your day one. I've never touched Fusion 360, and people keep telling me it's the software I need, but every time I open it, I want to cry kind of person, because that's where I was for many months, and eventually got over that hump, and I want to bring people along. And yeah, I think I've got a pretty. It's really how to use Fusion 360. The object doesn't matter as much. I've done it with chess pieces, and I've done it with Christmas ornaments. But it doesn't really matter. The skills that you learn, you'll be able to apply to whatever you want to make. It's the foundationals of Fusion 360 skills. So I'll get some events for that up, and I'll put them out on Twitter and Discord and my blog and stuff as well. And you can see the reviews from previous ones on my blog as well, and the slide decks, which are up there too. So if you don't want to pay, or you're like wondering how it's going to be, 98.8% of people like it, so or I think I had a star system, and it added up all the stars, and it was 98.8%. So I think that's pretty good. I don't know that you can get much higher than that in a group of humans. So I think I've got a pretty good workshop there. So I don't want to steal Jamie's limelight, because I know you runs Fusion as well.
No. I ran Fusion for some friends, and that was basically it. The professionals like yourself who can actually charge money for doing this as a thing, as opposed to me. Just it was a good group, a group of friends at the start of the COVID lockdown stuff. We just went, let's all swap skills.
Oh, lovely.
That was my kind of dragging my friends into the CAD world. But
beautiful. Well, yeah.
Jimmy's underselling himself a little bit. His professional job is working with CAD.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but I don't normally just teach my friends Fusion. But.
Well, but as we were discussing earlier, sometimes working in it, being able to do something well in a job doesn't necessarily mean you can necessarily teach it well. Yeah, you can do your job perfectly and be brilliant at it, and you can achieve. We need this made into CAD. Do it. You can do it, but to show somebody else how to do it isn't necessarily an easy thing. He did do a good job, though, Billy. He does.
Yay!
He's a good teacher.
Good job.
Thank you. I think for mine and Andy's things that have been grabbing our attention this week are basically the same thing that we've both been at our lovely friend James from Malt Make's wedding this weekend.
Yeah.
So that's basically all
some
we've
other
done,
makers.
I think,
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a couple of other ones which we'll come to, but yeah, it was really cool to sort of meet up with a couple of other makers. There's been a few things out on social media, so I'm sure some people will be familiar with some of the people that were there if they've followed James or a few of the other makers. We had Al from Al's Hack Shack, Caro, who we've interviewed on here,
Prop Shop Berlin.
Yep, Prop Shop Berlin, Dandles. People who will know who Dandles is and what Dandles is.
Monkey Workshop.
Yeah, and his wife Janie, Steve House, Fools with Tools, Moonshine Metalworks,
and The Forge UK.
Yeah,
you'll know everybody.
Afraid so.
Lovely.
We know a few people.
Some little Swedish blacksmith fellow from Denmark.
Like yeah, Finland. What's the other
Norwegian blacksmith. We're always winding him
up. Yeah. Rasmus Lowensteinsgaard. Yeah, so he was there as well. Came over from Norway to show how well he can dress.
In traditional Norwegian
Yes.
state dress. In his
I need to Google this.
very well dressed up he was.
It was quite interesting. Yeah, there was a gentleman in Scottish regalia, and then Rasmus in his traditional Norwegian kit, and they became friends. I think
they did almost instantly.
That is awesome. Oh, I love it. That is so
Billie,
good.
Do you need to dash? Because I know you've got places to be.
Yeah, I gotta go do a driving lesson. I'm trying to learn to drive. Yeah.
I just want to quickly rate just before we dip off. As well as the wedding, there's a new podcast in town called 2/3 Focused, which is actually Rasmus, along with Jan, the Nerd Inventor. The Nerd Inventor, and our friend also has been a previous guest, Gerard the Red Smith. And the other one that's maybe not quite so nice, maybe probably not the best ending, but show. For those who've kind of sort of followed maybe the American maker will maybe know the name of a gentleman called Braxton Worthlin, who actually passed away, quite a young chap, passed away this last week after complications with cancer. So maybe go and check out his stuff and just kind of get a bit of a boost. And I think the thing from that is community is really strong, and a lot of people kind of who knew him well. I didn't know him that well. A couple of little chats with him, but it's the maker community is a strong community. It's a really good supportive community, and I think we need to kind of promote the positive, and hopefully try and weed out the negative people, so that we can actually all be better, and we can, our neural net can grow and grow and grow, and
brain of makers.
Brain of makers. I like it.
Yeah,
brain
I like that
makers.
too. So you've told us already where we can find you. Next week we've got the other half of Kids Invent Stuff from Ruth, and that's Shawn. So that's going to be a nice chat, and of course we'll be chatting again in 2 weeks' time.
We will.
Or I think perhaps Jamie and I will just be listening more and posing your question.
Taking notes and asking silly questions. Well, not silly questions, but asking the questions to learn what we can. I think is the
and we'll hopefully just maybe talk a little bit more about that next week, so that people are kind of know what to expect, because it's going to be a bit different, and we still need to sort out a few little things. So, but it's going to be good. I think it's going to be hard. I think there may be some trigger warnings needed, but
I think we'll have to start with a fairly significant content note.
But hopefully everyone will feel safe to contribute and do that. So looking forward to that.
Links to everything from today as well will be in the description and stuff. Andy has been taking notes all through the last 2.5 hours.
And
thank you so much for having me. Seriously, it's been so lovely to hang out. And I know we hang out all the time, but it's been lovely to hang out on video. And thank you all.
Face to face,
Yeah, it's been so lovely. And thank you for all your help on the Discord with the moderating and stuff. It's so nice to have.
Thank you for giving us a home.
Having my back and stuff. And I just really appreciate you both, and thank you. Thank you.
Right, let's say goodbye to the live audience, and then we can have a quick chat before going off and doing our respective things. So bye folks, see you next week.